The regiment commander, my father, ordered me to choose a spouse from among his 4 subordinates. This time, I decided to leave it to chance and draw lots, because in my past life, I had chosen Gunyenin, the one I had secretly loved for so long. But it was only after our marriage that I learned his childhood sweetheart was so heartbroken she attempted suicide 3 times. On the very last time I tried to end my life by jumping into the river, I was violated by bandits, my purity stolen. He blamed it all on me, not only falsely accusing my father of taking bribes and having him thrown in prison, he even allowed his childhood sweetheart to set our house on fire, burning my mother and me alive. When I awoke again, I had returned to the day my father asked me to choose a marriage partner. This time, I drew the lot for Lu Qianchuan, the most unruly and headstrong of them all. Yet, at the engagement banquet, Gunyenin knelt down and begged me to choose again. Are you sure you want to choose Lu Qianchuan? When he saw the name Lu Qianchuan on the lot slip, my father looked at me with concern. Shashia, your father knows you've always had feelings for Gunyenin, why not just choose him? My mother, standing nearby, also looked pained. Yes, Shashia. I shook my head. It's fate. I'll choose Lu Qianchuan. The memories from my past life, my father wronged, my mother and I meeting a tragic end, flashed before my eyes, and I couldn't suppress a shudder. Seeing my mind was made up, father had no choice but to nod in agreement. The engagement banquet will be held in 3 days. I will announce your engagement to Lu Qianchuan to everyone then. I nodded in response and immediately stepped out the door, only to run straight into the 4 of them. Jixia, we heard the captain asked you to choose a future husband from among the 4 of us. Who did you pick? Ren Zhou, the most outgoing of the 4, was the first to speak up. Isn't it obvious? It has to be Nyenin. Jin Xian, standing beside him, patted his shoulder and said teasingly. I looked over at Gunyenin and saw his face had turned ashen, his eyes brimming with resentment. I didn't. Before I could finish, Jin Xian continued. Jixia, don't be embarrassed. We know you like Nyenin. Don't worry, even if you don't choose us, we'll always think of you as our little sister. In his peripheral vision, Gunyenin clenched his fist so tightly the veins in his arm stood out. Let's go in, the regimental commander is waiting for us. Gunyenin spoke coldly, his eyes filled with disdain. I offered no further explanation. After all, everything would be revealed at the engagement banquet. I had just reached the edge of the pond when a figure bumped into me, nearly sending me tumbling into the water. Upon seeing me, she dropped to her knees in a panic. I'm so sorry, Sister Jixia, I didn't mean to. It was only then that I got a clear look. The person was none other than Songwan, Gunyenin's childhood friend. Back then, my father, seeing her impoverished background and her connection to Gunyenin, arranged for her to work in our household. Even her disabled father was given some simple tasks to do. For some reason, she always acted as timid as a mouse around a cat whenever she saw me. Su Jixia, what are you doing? Gunyenin stormed over from a distance and helped Songwan to her feet. What's between us has nothing to do with Wanwan. Why would you treat her like this? He accused me without a second thought, yet his eyes were filled with tenderness when he looked at Songwan. I had never seen that look in his eyes in my past life. I didn't. You must have been spoiled rotten since childhood to be this insufferably arrogant. Let me make this clear, even if you pressure the regimental commander into forcing me to marry you, I will never so much as look your way. I stopped mid-sentence, suddenly having no desire to explain any further. I raised my hand and slapped Songwan across the face. See that? Now that's what I call arrogant and overbearing. With that, I rubbed my arm where I'd been bumped and turned to leave. However, Gunyenin grabbed my arm and snapped, apologized to Wanwan. I looked up at him. I haven't done anything wrong. But the words had barely left my lips before I was shoved into the pond. He knew I'd been terrified of water since I was a child. Once, during a spring outing, I'd fallen into a river and nearly drowned. Gunyenin was the first to rush over and save me. I was terrified at that moment, and he held me, comforting me over and over. It was also at that very moment that feelings of love for him began to blossom in my heart. In my panic, I kept screaming for help, only to see Gunyenin pick up Songwan and carry her out of the room. Let that be a lesson to you. Songwan nestled in his arms, glanced at me, her eyes brimming with triumphant satisfaction. Just as I thought I was about to drown, a familiar figure appeared and saved me. It was Lu Qianchuan. This was the first time I had been this close to him, and I could see a hint of concern in his eyes as he looked at me. My parents rushed over. Seeing me in that state, they were frantic with worry and immediately called for the team doctor. Seeing their anxious faces, I felt a profound sense of relief in my heart. At least they were still here. In this new life, I will make sure to protect them. This time, I'm going to stay far away from Gunyenin and Songwan. but before I could even recover from the shock of falling into the water, Gu Nianan found me, with Songwon in tow. Su Jixia, how can you be so cruel? Just because of a minor disagreement, you had Wanwan's father thrown out of the Su family. He's a disabled man. How do you expect him to live from now on? I looked at the two of them, bewildered, only to see Songwon putting on a pitiful, delicate act. Nianan, please don't blame Sister Jixia. It's all my fault. I was careless and offended you. Sister Jixia, I beg you, please be magnanimous and forgive me. Could you let this go? As she spoke, she made as if to kneel down, but was stopped by Gu Nianan, who was standing beside her. You don't need to kneel to her, Su Jixia. You'd better find that person and bring them back, or I'm calling off the wedding. I scoffed. Gu Nianan, what makes you so sure it's you I'm marrying? The man was taken aback for a moment, but then a smug, disdainful smirk spread across his face. Everyone knows you're crazy about me, Su Jixia, the daughter of a regimental commander, yet you're always trailing after me like a lost puppy. Now that the captain has given you this chance, how could you bear to marry anyone else? He wasn't wrong. In my past life, I truly did follow him around all day long, even though he wore a cold expression all day and was particularly harsh with me. I never tired of it. Yet, the more servile I became, the more it emboldened him to hurt me without restraint. Brother Nianan, my leg hurts so much. Songwon, who was nearby, suddenly cried out while clutching her knee, prompting Gu Nianan to immediately and carefully examine it. He saw a large, dark bruise on Songwon's knee, with blood seeping from it. Gu Nianan was utterly heartbroken at the sight. What happened? He asked. Songwon glanced at me cautiously, her words caught in her throat. Gu Nianan understood everything in an instant. Su Jixia. He spat out my name through gritted teeth, as if I were some heinous criminal. Songwon feigned intervention from the side. Don't blame Sister Jixia. It was all my own carelessness. I gave a bitter smile. Only Gu Nianan would be taken in by her clumsy act. Sure enough, Gu Nianan roughly pulled me from the bed, demanding I kneel and apologize to Songwon. I wanted to resist, to defy him, but I was powerless to do so. My knees hit the floor with a heavy thud, and a warm liquid instantly began to seep out. Only then did he release me, looking satisfied. Su Jixia, consider this a small lesson. If you dare bully Wanwan again, don't blame me for what comes next. With that, he carefully picked up Songwon and carried her out the door. It took me a long time to struggle to my feet. My body, already weakened from nearly drowning, felt utterly drained. I closed my eyes in despair, all the grievances welling up in my heart as tears streamed down uncontrollably. Although marrying Lu Qianchuan was considered marrying beneath my station, the Lu family did not skimp on a single one of the proper rituals. The Lu parents sent over the betrothal gifts, their sincerity overflowing and filling the entire living room. The moment she saw me, Mrs. Lu warmly took my hand and told me it was Lu Qianchuan's good fortune to be able to marry me. She even personally placed the Lu family's heirloom bracelet on my wrist. Seeing myself being treated with such regard, a pang of bittersweet emotion welled up inside me. In my past life, taking advantage of my affection for Gu Nianan, his parents not only offered no betrothal gifts but even demanded I bring a dowry of 10,000 yuan to marry into their family. My parents were aware of my feelings for Gu Nianan, and since they had already prepared a generous dowry for me, they didn't raise any objections. But after the wedding, they only got worse. Gu's mother constantly pestered me for ration coupons, and his father even quit his job to spend all day at the gambling dens. The dowry I brought was squandered in no time, and we even had to rely on my parents for financial support. Yet, Gu Nianan didn't care in the slightest. He said that's just how his family was, and I had brought it all on myself. Back then, I thought if I just endured enough, everything would gradually get better, but it wasn't until he framed my father for bribery and had him thrown in prison that I realized he had long since come to utterly despise my father, and me even more. He even allowed Songwon to set the house on fire, and my mother and I were burned alive. At that thought, I couldn't help but sniffle. This thoroughly alarmed Mr. and Mrs. Lu, who kept asking if I was all right. Lu Qianchuan, standing nearby, also looked at me, his eyes filled with concern. The person he was now bore no resemblance at all to the defiant, unruly man everyone described. The Lu family had just left when Gu Nianan and Songwon walked in, seeing the living room filled with betrothal gifts. His face instantly darkened. Su Jixia, are you really that desperate to marry me? Even if you prepare a mountain of dowry, I won't feel the slightest bit of affection for you. I paid him no mind, instead admiring the wedding dress the Lu family had prepared for me. What a beautiful wedding dress. Seeing the dress, Songwon's eyes lit up for a moment, but then quickly dimmed. It's just a shame someone from a modest family like mine could never wear such a beautiful dress in this lifetime. Gun Yenin looked at her with a pang of heartache. The person I, Gun Yenin, love could never lose. With that, he told me to give the wedding dress to Sungwon to wear. You're only wearing it for my sake anyway. Let Wanwan have this one. You can wear anything you like. No matter what you wear, you'll never hold a candle to Wanwan. With that, he made sure to add insult to injury. I let out a cold laugh. This wedding dress was a gift from my fiancé. Why on earth should I give it to you? Gun Yenin looked at me with utter contempt. Who else could your fiancé possibly be, if not me? Gun Yenin, you are truly not my fiancé. I couldn't hold back the truth any longer, but he didn't care in the slightest. Playing hard to get doesn't work on me. I suggest you save your energy. He snatched the wedding dress from my hands, and the sequins instantly cut a bloody gash across my skin. Tisk. He cast a disgusted glance at the wedding dress stained with blood. Then turned and affectionately patted Songwon's head. Be good, Wanwan. This dress is ruined. I'll buy you an even prettier one. Blushing with shyness, Songwon nestled into Gun Yenin's embrace. Thank you, Yenin Gij. As if remembering something, a note of hurt crept into her voice. But, you're about to get engaged to Sister Jixia. Don't worry, Wanwan. Even if I marry her, you'll always be the only one in my heart. Gun Yenin patted Songwon's back gently, soothing her with soft words. My heart skipped a beat at the sight of the gruesome wound on my hand. Guards, throw these two out. On the day of the engagement banquet, reporters from every newspaper had arrived. As soon as I appeared, they all surged toward me. Miss Su, I heard your fiancé was chosen from among the captain's 4 subordinates. May I ask, is it Mr. Gun Yenin, the one you've always favored? Miss Su, I heard Mr. Gun Yenin has a childhood sweetheart, and they share a very close bond. May I ask, will you still persist in your pursuit of love? Without exception, everyone's questions were about who I had chosen to marry. My father will announce my marriage partner tonight, and then everything will be revealed. With that, I turned and walked towards the venue. I saw Gun Yenin standing there in a sharp suit, with Songwon, dressed in elegant finery, by his side. He glared at me with resentment. Su Jixia, you got what you wanted. Are you happy now? But don't get too cocky, you'll never have my heart. As if I had already ruined the rest of his life, I looked at him with contempt. I told you I'm not marrying you. Don't get the wrong idea. Yet even now, he still thinks I'm playing hard to get. After settling Songwon in, he came and stood beside me on his own, assuming the air of the man of the house. I ignored him and quickened my pace, trying to shake him off. But he grabbed my arm, nearly making me fall. Su Jixia, don't push your luck. As he spoke, he grabbed me by the throat and pinned me against the wall. If you dare cause any more trouble today, you'll regret it. Who dares threaten my fiancé? Just as I was being choked to the point of gasping for air, a man's voice rang out. Lu Qianchuan strode quickly towards us and, with a single punch, knocked Gun Yenin to the ground. Gun Yenin roared in furious anger. Lu Qianchuan, your usual insolence is one thing, but today is the engagement banquet for me and Su Jixia. This is no place for your disruptions. Lu Qianchuan carefully shielded me in his arms, looking at Gun Yenin with disdain. When did Jixia ever say she wanted to get engaged to you? You're really full of yourself. Everyone knows Su Jixia has always had a crush on me. She's the one who's desperate to marry me. Gun Yenin said this with a face full of smug satisfaction. A surge of rage instantly ignited within me. Gun Yenin, I did have feelings for you once, but not anymore. Do me a favor and open your eyes wide. This is the engagement banquet for me and Lu Qianchuan. With that, I linked my arm with Lu Qianchuan's and walked towards the venue. No, it can't be. You're all in on this together. Lying to me. Gun Yenin was flustered, watching our retreating figures with disbelief. Inside the venue, father was entertaining a gathering of guests. Seeing Lu Qianchuan and me enter, he signaled for everyone to quiet down, as he had an announcement to make. Today, we gather to celebrate the engagement of my beloved daughter, Su Jixia, to Mr. Lu Qianchuan. Let us all wish the happy couple a lifetime of joy together. As he finished speaking, a wave of enthusiastic applause filled the banquet hall. I object. Gun Yenin's declaration cut through the applause, and the room fell into an instant, stunned silence. He stepped forward and took my hand, murmuring incessantly, Jixia, haven't you always liked me? Why did you choose him? Looking at him before me, my heart remained utterly still. I told you I don't like you anymore. I shook off his hand and said impatiently, impossible, Jixia, you're just upset with me, right? I was wrong about what happened before. Hurry and tell the team leader that you chose me. I don't understand. He likes Songwon, and I stepped aside for them, so why does he keep coming to find me? The tabloid reporters smelled a story and all turned their microphones towards Gu Yan'an. Mr. Gu, we've heard you have someone you like, so why are you still fixated on Miss Su? Mr. Gu, are you pursuing Miss Su because her father, the general, could be a future asset to your career? Are you really going to give up so-called love for power? Who is it that you actually love? Gu Yan'an was rendered speechless by the reporter's questions and looked at me in a flustered panic. I, however, paid him no mind. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, today is the engagement banquet for Mr. Lu Qianchuan and myself. Anyone else is irrelevant to us. Hearing this, Gu Yan'an looked at me with a deeply wounded expression. Xixia, I like you too. Are you really giving up on me? I scoffed inwardly. If he had said this 3 days ago, I would have forgiven him without a second thought, but now, I just find it utterly ridiculous. After all the pain he caused me, now he's putting on this act of deep affection. Gu Yan'an, from the moment you pushed me into the pond, forced me to kneel to Songwan, and ruined my wedding dress, there was never any chance for us again. How dare you force my precious daughter to kneel to Songwan? Who does she think she is? My father, who was standing nearby, instantly flew into a rage upon hearing this. I had never told him about this incident, for fear of upsetting him. My father knew about the incident where Gu Yan'an pushed me into the pond that day. To avoid further trouble, I persuaded him to let it go. My father assumed I still had feelings for Gu Yan'an, so he dropped the matter, but then Gu Yan'an had the audacity to force me to kneel. My father, who has always doted on me, couldn't stand for that. He sent men to have Gu Yan'an arrested. Seeing this, Songwan came running over in tears. Brother Yan'an, what's going on? Why are they arresting you? Sister Xixia, this is all my fault. Please, I beg you, let Brother Yan'an go. As she spoke, she looked at me and dropped to her knees with a thud. I immediately ordered someone to help her up. I can't possibly accept your kneeling. If you kneel like this, won't Gu Yan'an force me to kneel right back? I really don't like this habit of dropping to one's knees at the drop of a hat. My own knees are still sore from the last time. As I spoke, I made a show of rubbing my knees. This immediately made Lu Qianchuan, standing beside me, ache with sympathy. Ignoring everyone's stares, he rolled up my pant leg, revealing the shocking dark bruise on my knee. His eyes instantly reddened with fury. Before I could even react, he kicked Gu Yan'an in the shin, sending him crashing to his knees right in front of me. He let out a pained grunt and looked at me with a wounded expression. Xixia, I only made you kneel because you forced Wanwan to kneel for you. Her knees were a complete mess. You were the one who had her father thrown out, weren't you? Xixia, if you just make a different choice, I can let all of this go. I never once asked Songwan to kneel before me, and I didn't drive her father away, either. In the end, I told him everything with what little patience I had left. You mean Songwan Kuan? I had him thrown out because he stole from the house. I took him in out of pity, but who would have thought he'd turn out to be a thief? I was being generous by not reporting him to the authorities. How dare he turn around and blame me? You made my daughter kneel over this. The father glanced at Gu Yan'an, his fury blazing. No, that can't be. Wanwan said her father was driven away because of her. Gu Yan'an's eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at Songwan, but Songwan's guilty expression gave her away. You lied to me. Then how do you explain the injury on your knee? That can't be fake, can it? Gu Yan'an looked at Songwan, his face a picture of hurt. The injury on her knee was self-inflicted. At that moment, Ren Zhou stepped forward. I happened to see Songwan deliberately hit her own knee with a stone that day. I thought it was strange at the time, but now I see it was to frame Xixia. How utterly calculating she is. Ren Zhou's words completely drained Gu Yan'an of his strength. He turned on Songwan, his voice a furious roar. Why did you lie to me? I've been so good to you. Songwan wept, her face streaked with tears like rain on pear blossoms. Brother Yan'an, I did all of this because I love you. We grew up together. Why did you have to marry someone else in the end? You said you didn't like Su Xixia, yet you were always so easily drawn to her. Gu Yan'an couldn't bear to listen any longer. He grabbed the hem of my pants. Xixia, it was all my fault. I was too quick to believe what I heard. Please forgive me. Can you choose me one more time? I shook him off in disgust. Impossible. Xixia, even if you don't choose me, you can't possibly choose Lu Qianchuan. You know exactly what kind of man he is. You'll have nothing but misery if you stay with him. Gu Yan'an glanced at Lu Qianchuan beside me, trying to make me change my mind with this plea. Out of the corner of his eye, Lu Qianchuan's gaze darkened. I grabbed his hand. No matter what kind of man he is my fiancé, and I believe we will lead a happy life together. If you're not here to offer your congratulations, then I must ask you to leave. Lu Qianchuan looked at me, his eyes lighting up with pure delight. Did you hear that? My fiancé is asking you to leave. He shot Gunyanan a triumphant look, and Gunyanan seemed to completely shatter. Jixia, are you really going to throw away all these years we've had together, just for him? But by then, I had completely lost my patience and didn't want to hear another word from him. I just coldly ordered my men to throw the two of them out. Gunyanan, completely disregarding her dignity, wept and begged for my forgiveness. Jixia, I was wrong, please forgive me. After the engagement banquet, Lu Qianchuan looked at me. Jixia, do you have any regrets? What? I looked at him, puzzled. I know you've always liked Gunyanan, and you know my reputation. Jixia, if you have any regrets, I'm willing to let go. He looked at me cautiously, a faint mist clouding his eyes. I didn't answer him, only rose on my toes to press a light kiss to his lips. The man was stunned for a moment, then responded with fervor. As passion deepened, he paused. Jixia, may I? He only continued after I gave him my confirmation. I never imagined a man so untamed could have a side like this. That night, we were nearly out of our minds. Lu Qianchuan held me in his arms as if I were a priceless heirloom, unwilling to let go. Jixia, I finally have you. His words filled me with confusion. Across 2 lifetimes, Lu Qianchuan and I had barely crossed paths, yet from his words, it seemed he had liked me for a long time. Before I could ask, he received a mission and stood up, so I didn't press the matter further. Touched by the kindness of the Lu family and Lu Qianchuan, I decided to pick out some gifts for them. Just as I reached the entrance of the department store, someone covered my mouth and nose, and I lost consciousness. When I came to, I found myself in a dilapidated house. 2 burly men saw I was awake and began closing in on me with leering grins. Who are you? Why are you arresting me? I shouted nervously at the 2 men. My father is a regimental commander. If you dare harm me, he will make you pay. The 2 men reacted to my words as if they had heard the biggest joke. So your father's a regimental commander? Well, mine's a general. You should have thought up a better lie. Let me be straight with you. The regimental commander's daughter is the one who ordered us to bring you in today. A sense of foreboding crept into my heart. I'm not lying to you. I really am the regimental commander's daughter. And I just got engaged yesterday. My fiancé is Lu Qianchuan. He won't let you get away with this. Hearing Lu Qianchuan's name, the 2 men began to have second thoughts. Boss, she says she's Lu Qianchuan's fiancé. Could we have messed with the wrong person? Lu Qianchuan is ruthless. If she's telling the truth, we might earn this money but not live long enough to spend it. Seeing the 2 men let their guard down slightly, I pressed on. Let me go, and I can make sure Lu Qianchuan doesn't come after you. I can even pay you more. But then, the leader seemed to snap out of it. Don't fall for her tricks. She's all smooth talk. The news of Lu Qianchuan's engagement to the regimental commander's daughter was all over the papers. Everyone knows. Besides, does she look anything like a regimental commander's daughter to you? I looked down at my own clothes. They really weren't that splendid. I rushed out this morning and just threw on whatever was handy. I never thought it would land me in trouble. Look, fellas, I'm telling you the truth. If you don't believe me, I'll confront the guy who hired you right to his face. Honestly, by this point, I had a pretty good idea who was trying to set me up. Why the hell should we listen to you? Whoever you are, you're gonna have some fun with us first. They stopped talking and just grabbed me by the collar. I struggled desperately, but my screams and shouts were useless. To think that even in this new life, I still ended up in such a miserable state. At that thought, I completely broke down and sobbed uncontrollably. At that very moment, the door swung open. Gunyanan burst in with a swift stride and kicked the 2 men to the ground, as if clutching at a life-saving straw. A flicker of hope reignited within me. Are you all right? Gunyanan looked at me and asked with concern. I shook my head. Watch out. Before I could even react, one of the burly men grabbed a piece of wood and swung it at Gunyanan. Fortunately, he dodged just in time to avoid being hit. After swiftly tying the 2 men up, Gunyanan began to question them about who had sent them. She said she'd pay us a fortune if we ruined her reputation. Hearing their account, a flicker of hesitation appeared in Gunyanan's eyes, as if she had guessed something. Before long, Songwon arrived, just as expected. She was absolutely livid when she saw me standing there, completely unharmed, with Gunyanan by my side. Gunyanan was still in disbelief, seeing that the mastermind behind it all was indeed Songwon. You did all of this? He couldn't understand how the girl he'd grown up with, who was always so positive and cheerful, could have committed such a heinous act. Songwon answered without hesitation. Yes, I did it. Why would you do this? Don't you know this is a crime? There was still a trace of heartache in his tone. I want to ruin Su Jixia, so you'll never think of her again. Brother Nyanan, you promised you would love me forever. I'll kill her today. and then we can run away together. How does that sound? Goon Yenin never imagined she could say something like that. Even now, he slapped her across the face. Songwon, you're completely out of your mind. Didn't you let me burn the house down with her in it before? What's the difference if I kill her now? I stared at Songwon in disbelief. So she had been reborn too. I have no idea what you're talking about. If you kneel down and apologize to Jixia right now, I'll pretend none of this ever happened. I couldn't believe that even now. Goon Yenin was still shielding Songwon without a second thought. My heart turned to ashes. His love for Songwon ran far deeper than I had ever imagined. Yet Songwon dismissed it. Convinced that Goon Yenin was taking my side, a sudden, vicious look crossed her face as she drew a dagger from her robes and lunged at me. I was utterly terrified, frozen in place with no time to dodge. But after a long moment, the pain never came. I opened my eyes to see Goon Yenin slowly collapsing in front of me. Songwon stood frozen in place, staring in disbelief at the scene before her. Before her legs gave way and she crumpled to the ground. No, it can't be. Yenin, help, someone, help. At that very moment, Lu Qianchuan burst in with a team of men. They rushed Goon Yenin to the hospital and took Songwon into custody. I'm sorry I'm late. He looked at me with a face full of apology. And only then did I let out a sigh of relief before passing out completely. When I woke up, Lu Qianchuan was by my side. He scooped me up in his arms, his eyes rimmed with red. Thank goodness you're all right. I patted his head and comforted him. It's all in the past now. Jixia, you have no idea how worried I was when I heard you were missing. I was so scared. It took so much for us to be together. I can't lose you, Jixia. You know, I've liked you since the very first moment I saw you. But your heart has always belonged to Goon Yenin. All I could do was watch you from afar. The personality I show is just a facade. I didn't want you to know and feel burdened. I love your purity, your decisiveness, and the innate kindness you were born with. I had planned to take these words to my grave, but after what happened, I knew I had to tell you. Lu Qianchuan's torrent of words left me utterly flustered. It turns out, he loved me far more deeply than I had ever imagined. I held him tight and whispered, I'll love you just as well. Goon Yenin was ultimately saved. I heard his first words upon waking were a request to see me, but at that time, I was busy preparing for my wedding to Lu Qianchuan and had no time to see him. The day before the wedding, Goon Yenin still managed to find me. As soon as he saw me, he dropped to his knees with a thud. Jixia, I remember everything now. I was such a bastard. I understand what he meant, and he's back now. Jixia, from the very beginning, you never even considered choosing me, did you? It was all just me being delusional. I thought you loved me so much that you would definitely pick me. That's why I felt free to hurt you without restraint. I'm sorry. I never realized I had hurt you so deeply. I know you still love me. You can't just walk away from all these years we've shared. Please, forgive me. I took that knife for you. Let's call it even. Let's start over. This time, I'll make it up to you. I promise. As he rambled on, I spoke with icy detachment. I'm sorry. But there's no future for us. Even if you took a knife for me, you brought that upon yourself. If it weren't for you, Songwon would never have come after me. I suggest you behave yourself and leave me alone from now on. Don't make me do something we'll both regret. A sudden wave of regret washed over me. Why had I ever fallen for a man like that, wasting so many precious years of my life? Upon hearing my words, Goon Yenin collapsed to the floor, utterly heartbroken. I didn't even spare him a glance and ordered my attendants to throw him out. Lu Qianchuan witnessed the entire scene. He then came over and threw himself into my arms, acting all coquettish. I don't care. You owe me big time today. Looking at the man before me, I felt both annoyed and amused. He really was pushing his luck after getting such a good deal. Over these past few days, Lu Qianchuan seemed like a completely different person. Just as he said, his rebellious personality was all an act. The moment he saw me, he clung to my side like an affectionate kitten. Seeing us so deeply in love brought great comfort to both sets of parents. With my parents in good health and my beloved by my side, my heart was utterly content. In this life or the last, this is the kind of life I've always dreamed of. On the day of the wedding ceremony, just as Lu Qianchuan had picked me up and we stepped out, I saw Goon Yenin standing not far away. I intended to ignore him completely, but Lu Qianchuan patted my shoulder and told me he'd be right back. He was so insistent that I had no choice but to agree. He returned a short while later. I asked him what he and Goon Yenin had talked about. He just smiled, and I didn't press the matter further. I no longer had any interest in matters concerning Goon Yenin. The wedding proceeded smoothly, and Lu Qianchuan and I stepped into the hall of matrimony amidst the blessings of our family and friends. We held each other tight in the sunlight. I held on to the happiness of this lifetime with all my might. Later, I heard that Gun Yenin went to the northwest to join the volunteer army. He said that only by devoting himself wholeheartedly to serving the country could he find a temporary escape from the mistakes of his past. Only then could his heart find a moment's peace. Song Wan was sentenced to execution by firing squad for the crimes of intentional assault and intentional homicide. Before the execution, she wished to see Gun Yenin, but he did not come. I suppose this was his way of punishing her. Hearing about these people and events again, it all felt like a lifetime ago. None of it matters anymore. The person right in front of me is all that matters. Now, let's move on to the next story. I was reborn on my 20th birthday. I watched coldly as Yusinian was being bullied, then slapped him hard across the face. Then I turned and threw my father's illegitimate daughter out of the house. I casually handed the entire G family over to someone else. My infamy spread far and wide from that day on. One moment, I was falling from the G Corporation building. The next, I was back on my birthday. I remember that day vividly, for it was my first encounter with Yusinian, and the beginning of my nightmare. Perhaps the heavens finally opened their eyes, granting me a chance to start over. To right the wrongs and settle the scores. Watching Yusinian being bullied, I smoothed my skirt, my eyes glinting with cold resolve, and walked straight up to him. Yusilan stood to the side, arms crossed, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Ji Wanning, surely you're not going to meddle in other people's business. Everyone in this circle knows the Ji family has a sweet little angel, or, to put it less kindly, a world-class doormat. I just smiled at her without a word. Then turned and slapped Yusinian across the face. How dare you compare yourself to Yu Sijing? The onlookers were stunned. No one had heard of any deep-seated grudge between the Ji family's little princess and Yusinian. Could she be one of Yu Sijing's admirers? Having vented my anger, I turned to Yusilan. Do as you please, just make sure no one dies on the Ji family's property. I'd love to see how he plans to survive under the Yu siblings' thumbs without me around to protect him this time. With that matter settled, it's time to deal with the other one. I walked near the outdoor pool and saw Ji Baiji, dressed in lavish but utterly tasteless attire, being harassed by a man. In my past life, I tried to play the hero and intervene, but she deliberately pushed me into the water, tarnishing my reputation. In this lifetime, you'll get a taste of the suffering I endured. Ah, help! With a shriek, Ji Baiji tumbled gracelessly into the water. The bodyguard, his mission accomplished, melted back into the crowd and vanished. I walked to the edge of the pool, looking down at Ji Baiji flailing in the water. Laughter erupted behind me, as if they were watching a clown show. Only this time, she was the star of the performance. Ji Baiji, how's the water treating you? A flash of malice crossed her face, which bore a strong resemblance to our father's, before it instantly melted into a pitiful expression. Sister, I never meant to come between you and father. It's just, I love him so much. I turned around and, sure enough, saw Ji Mingyuan, absolutely livid, about to point his finger at me and denounce me as an unfilial daughter. In my past life, I could never understand why a few simple lies from her were enough to turn everyone against me. Later, that person taught me that this is called a sanctimonious hypocrite. Ji Wanning, she's your sister. What on earth are you doing? My dear father fired off a rapid barrage of accusations at his other biological daughter without a shred of evidence. The truth didn't matter. All that mattered was who he wanted to protect. I should have seen his heart, biased to the extreme, long ago. I was the one desperately clinging to a father's love that never existed. Ji Mingyuan, since you love her so much, why don't you make a choice? I pointed at the newly rescued, soaking wet Ji Baiji. It's her or me. Ji Mingyuan shot me a disapproving glare and gave a hollow laugh. What nonsense are you talking? Both you and Baiji are my dear daughters. There's no choice to be made. Fine, then I'll leave the Ji family. I casually wiped my hands, though they weren't wet. As for the 35% stake I hold, I welcome offers. Highest bidder takes it. The heirs from various families who were watching the spectacle couldn't help but feel a stir of interest. They could tell I wasn't joking. Ji Mingyuan panicked, trying to emotionally blackmail me with fatherly love. Wanning, he pleaded, Baiji is also a child of the Ji family. You can't just, stop. I cut him off directly. She is your daughter, not a child of the Ji family. Ji Baiji flushed crimson, her nails digging into her palms. A silent vow to remember the humiliation of this day. Not daring to gamble with me over the 35% stake, Ji Mingyuan had to back down for now. He walked over to Ji Baiji, adjusted her towel, and said soothingly, go to the hotel first. Ji Baiji's eyes reddened, holding back tears and a sense of grievance. She forced a magnanimous tone and said, it's all right, father, as long as my sister is happy, that's all that matters. Trying to throw shade at me on your way out. Well, I'm the legitimate heir of the Ji family now. No one would dare cross me for your sake. Another one gone. Finally, some peace and quiet. In the backyard, I slipped away from everyone and went to the garden alone. Through the glass door of the greenhouse, I watched that familiar yet somewhat youthful figure. My heart clenched, and tears fell, dripping onto the blooming white tulips. Why are you crying? He sat in a wheelchair, a gentle smile in his eyes, with none of the cold, gloomy aura from his past life. So this is what Yu Sijing was like in his youth. I was still a little afraid of him, yet I had no choice but to seek him out, because in this life or the last, he is the only one I trust to help me, the only one. I have a business proposition. Are you interested? A heavy silence fell, and my heart was pounding with anxiety. The confusion in his eyes deepened. Miss G, I don't believe we've ever met. Do you want the G family? I walked up to him, crouched down halfway, and gazed into his eyes. My words dripping with temptation. He remained unmoved. From what I understand, Miss G shouldn't possess that capability. The words stung, but deep down, I knew it was the accepted truth within our circle. I had been rendered useless by Ji Mingyuan's coddling. In his heart, there was only one heir, Ji Baiji. So, if something was never meant to be mine, I might as well maximize its value. This was something Yu Sijing taught me. After a time I managed to please him. My mother left a will, bequeathing 10%, that was the bait. Let's see if he takes it. Name your terms. Perhaps the bait was too tempting. The big fish couldn't resist and swam right into the net. The banquet was halfway through. As the guest of honor, it was time for me to give a speech. Ji Mingyuan handed me the draft. The familiar phrasing and word choice made it clear it was written by Ji Baiji. In my past life, I obediently followed instructions. When this was exposed, I was labeled as utterly talentless, and my hard-earned admission to B University was dismissed as having been obtained through backdoor connections. Ji Baiji, naturally, was hailed as the very embodiment of a scholarly goddess. A torrent of lavish praise was heaped upon her, and her standing within our social circle soared. Who could have imagined that the lofty princess of the Ji family would be trampled underfoot by an illegitimate daughter deemed unworthy of the public eye? Burying the memories in the deepest recesses of my mind, I walked onto the stage. In front of everyone, I tore the speech to shreds and threw the pieces at Ji Mingyuan. He stood below the stage, his face twisted into a grotesque and terrifying, yet utterly ridiculous, mask, a perfect mirror of the moment he pushed me over the edge. I should never have held any hope for him. It's a pity I didn't grasp that simple truth until the moment I fell to my death. Ji Wanning, what do you think you're doing? I've heard this kind of accusation far too many times. It took me a full decade to go from actively refuting it, to doubting myself, and finally to enduring it with numb acceptance. If it weren't for Yu Sijing, the moment I was driven out of the Ji family, I would have walked into the deep sea. Like my mother, I would have ended my life in self-blame and guilt, insignificant as dust. Ji Mingyuan, have you forgotten? Mother left a gift for me as well. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder. Ji Mingyuan's face darkened further. How could he possibly part with 10% of the shares? Yet the piercing stares, sharp as needles, forced him to offer an explanation. I was just about to tell you. Ayun made me promise back then that I could only transfer the shares to you once you found a good match. You're barely an adult. That was exactly the opening I was waiting for. Without hesitation, I cut him off. Sijing and I are in love. All the onlookers were stunned into silence. Under their intense gaze, I walked up to Yu Sijing's wheelchair, knelt down, looked up, and asked softly, will you marry me? The air grew still. Unbeknownst to me, Yu Sijing's hand had quietly clenched into a fist. His gaze held me captive, a suffocating net I couldn't break free from. The air grew thick and warm, a flush creeping up to the tips of my ears. Just as my heart threatened to leap from my chest, his voice came like a divine melody. I do. A sudden, unexpected kiss landed on my forehead. Go do what you want, he said, feeling the heat bloom across my cheeks. I flusteredly averted my eyes from Yu Sijing's gaze and mumbled a reply. I turned my head and saw Ji Mingyuan, looking as if he were sitting on pins and needles, completely caught off guard. I walked up to him with composure, all smiles. Why so unhappy, father? Is it that you're dissatisfied with Sijing, or are you reluctant to part with the shares? I knew he wouldn't dare answer, no matter how unwilling he was. He had no choice but to grin and bear it. Ji Mingyuan forced a smile, his tone stiff. Happy? I'm very happy. However, he shifted the topic. You and Sijing won't be able to register your marriage for another 2 years, handing over the shares to you now. I'm simply not comfortable with that. Some people in the room chimed in to support him. A quick glance told me they were all heads of small businesses that survived by clinging to the Ji family. I made a mental note of each one. I understand your concern. Perhaps we can meet in the middle, I said, handing him the prepared contract and a pen. consider 5% of the shares a wedding gift for Sijing and me. As for the remaining 5%, I'm confident that in the not-too-distant future, you'll personally deliver it to me." Ji Mingyuan narrowed his eyes, finally realizing my target had been 5% all along, but he didn't believe I was capable of orchestrating this alone. His gaze shifted to Yu Sijing. What was the Yu family planning? He wasn't wrong. The contract was prepared for me by Yu Sijing, and the scheme was his idea too. The only catch is, the one who taught me the latter was his past life self. As the banquet drew to a close, some guests were overjoyed while others were left disheartened. I personally escorted Yu Sijing to the door, draped the prepared blanket over his lap, and said, "The night air is chilly, do take care to keep warm." A teasing laugh came from inside the car as Yu Silan rolled down the window. "Seeing how well-behaved you are, I almost wish Wang Ning would marry into the family sooner. She could help me keep you in line, while others might not know." Her own sister was well aware that those legs were Yu Sijing's most sensitive spot, untouchable and not to be inquired about. Pretending I hadn't heard, I waved goodbye to him, eager to escape from this awkward situation as quickly as possible. Wait a moment. My wrist was suddenly grabbed, forcing me to turn back and look at him. "So, you're just going to use me and toss me aside, Miss G?" Yu Sijing wore the expression of a man scorned, yet his words carried an undercurrent of threat. A stark contrast to the noble and upright demeanor he had displayed just moments before. Just as I thought, no matter how his outward demeanor might change, on the inside, he's always been a wolf in sheep's clothing. He'd pluck a feather from a goose as it flies by. He never makes a deal that isn't to his advantage. This was the Yu Sijing I knew. Fortunately, I had come prepared and didn't flinch in the slightest. "This," I said, "is a 10% equity transfer agreement." The 5% was the condition for him agreeing to our marriage of convenience. The extra 5% was to repay a debt of gratitude from a past life. Let bygones be bygones. Yu Sijing took the document, still smelling of fresh ink, and without even glancing at it, tore it to shreds, letting the pieces scatter across the floor. I couldn't help but hold my breath, my fingertips trembling slightly, as if awaiting divine judgment. "Are you afraid of me?" The physical reaction didn't escape his notice. He stared at me intently, not missing a single detail. I kept telling myself it was all starting over. After a few moments, I finally relaxed, shaking my head slightly. "No." A shadow flickered in his eyes as he deliberately changed the subject. "I don't need the extra 5%. All I ask is for Miss G to agree to one small condition." I moved into the Yu residence, choosing the room farthest from Yu Sijing. "You seem quite familiar with this place." A chill ran through me, but I kept my tone light, almost joking. "Just a random choice. It seems fate isn't on our side, Mr. Yu." The door closed, shutting out the intense, obsessive depth in his eyes. Lying in bed, I recorded some crucial matters in an encrypted memo. I made a silent vow to myself. Once I reclaim the G family, I will sever the agreement with Yu Sijing at any cost and cut all ties for good. But why did he want me to move into the Yu residence? That question kept swirling in my mind, unanswered. Knock. Knock. The sound at the door pulled me from my thoughts. I walked over and asked warily, "Can I help you, Miss G? I'd like to have a word with you." "Yu Sinian, what does he want with me?" My hand on the doorknob, I hesitated. "It's about Ji Baiji." I opened the door, ready to hear what he had to say, but the sight before me made me jump. Water droplets from his damp hair traced a path down his collarbone, disappearing into the half-open bathrobe. A faint, woody scent hung provocatively in the air. His lower lip was bitten to a flushed red as he lifted his gaze to meet mine, alluring and pitiable like a seductive cat. It's hard to describe what I'm feeling right now. If I had to put it into words, it's like the haughty Persian cat from my past life has suddenly transformed into a docile ragdoll, rolling over to expose its belly in an attempt to tempt you. Disgusting. I took a step back in revulsion, turning my eyes away from him. "Yu Sinian, it's your turn to taste the bitterness of those words. In my past life, I was blind. I changed myself to please you, only to be called shameless and have my sincere heart thrown to the dogs." Seeing his wounded expression wasn't enough for me. I wanted him utterly ruined, crushed beyond recovery. Only then would my hatred be satisfied. "What are you doing?" The door at the other end of the room was suddenly flung open. Yu Sijing sat in his wheelchair, his expression dark and his tone ominous. A smirk played on Yu Sinian's lips as he was about to make his next move, only to see me dash past him in a panic. I lowered my head, roughly wiped the corner of my eye, and hid behind Yu Sijing, my voice trembling. "He came to me on his own. He's so ugly." I was scared. Yu Sijing was successfully pleased by a certain few words. He stared coldly at Yu Sinian. "Get out." Yu Sinian returned in disgrace to the first floor, That was his room, on the very bottom rung of the U family. Starting tomorrow, you don't need to come to the office. The non-negotiable notice pierced his eyes like needles, his fists clenched, and sparks of hatred flashed in his gaze. Upstairs, having successfully used another to do my dirty work, I was ready to head back to my room to sleep. I'd forgotten that the knife could have a mind of its own. Aren't you scared? Yu Sijing looked at me with a knowing, half-smile. Or are you lying to me? Terrified, I answered, my voice leaving no room for doubt. No matter how you spin it, there's a catch, but lying to him is a surefire way to make things much worse. Hearing my answer, his smile widened. He wheeled his chair aside a few steps, revealing the room behind him as its doorway opened wide to me. Then come on in. It couldn't be what I'm thinking. Could it? I tentatively declined. It's too late. It's not convenient. Perhaps we could talk during the day instead. It seems you're not afraid, Yu Sijing murmured, his head bowed so I couldn't see his expression. So you were lying to me. He said this last part with utter calm, yet it made my heart lurch violently, sinking into the ebony-scented pillow. I still couldn't believe it. On my very first day back, I had ended up in Yu Sijing's bed. Perhaps lulled by the familiar scent, drowsiness washed over me. And I fell into a deep sleep. Unbeknownst to me, the man who had been lying on his side turned over. In the darkness, his gaze traced the contours of my face, his eyes overflowing with a tenderness that morphed into an intense, possessive obsession. The next day, I drifted awake to the sight of a sculpted 8-pack, still half asleep. My hand moved on instinct, reaching out to touch it. I mumbled softly, "Why aren't you at the office yet?" A low voice, tinged with a hint of amusement I almost missed, came from above me. "Had your fill." I jolted fully awake, snatching my hand back and scrambling away, only to tumble right off the edge of the bed. An arm scooped me up, face to face. A faint smile played on Yu Sijing's lips. "I'm the one who was taken advantage of. Why are you running?" It was all a dream. I shamefully chickened out and ran from his room without looking back. Even after returning to school, I still hadn't recovered from the shock. Classes weren't until the afternoon, but I figured any escape was a good one. I decided to hole up in my dorm for a while. Even the roommate I'd barely met a few times was there. But the way they looked at me felt indescribably strange. "What's going on?" I asked point blank. "Mind telling me?" A phone emerged from behind the bed curtain diagonally in front of me. "See for yourself." An anonymous post was submitted to the campus confession board, describing a cruel older sister and her pitiful younger sister. Their real identities have been exposed, and the comments are overwhelmingly negative. "She's so vile. No matter the reason, how could she kick out her own sister? She lives like a princess while her sister has to work to make ends meet. How shameless can you be? I don't want to share a campus with someone of such poor character. Can the school administration investigate and expel her?" A torrent of vile insults kept coming, and the few who spoke up for me were dismissed as sycophants, subjected to indiscriminate attacks. I was being judged by a group of strangers. Their verdict: a wolf in sheep's clothing, utterly despicable. In the finance department classroom, 15 minutes remained until the first class. I pushed the door open, connected my laptop to the projector, and my voice, amplified by the microphone, reached every ear in the room. "Ji Baiji, do you have the nerve to say it to my face, that you are my own sister?" The model student sat in the front row, anxious and on the verge of tears. The stares of everyone felt like knives flaying her skin, and she desperately wanted to escape. I moved first, closing the door and blocking her only way out. Running away. "You haven't answered my question yet." The school bully was picking on the innocent girl, and a classmate couldn't stand it anymore, stepping in to defend her. "She's your sister. How can you treat her like this?" "I'm not," Ji Baiji screamed, her voice trailing off into a whisper. "I'm not her sister. She didn't dare take my bet." The person still didn't believe her and said with self-righteous conviction, "Baiji, don't be afraid. We all support you. You're supporting yourself, aren't you? You can't stand the thought of being proven wrong, of admitting that the person who said those things was as dumb as a post." I scanned the classroom. Many people lowered their heads in shame, hiding behind your phones. You launch ruthless attacks on a complete stranger based on half-truths. If you're right, you puff up with pride as if you performed some great service. If you're wrong, you just turtle up in your shell and would never dream of apologizing. "Oh, you're just a paragon of virtue, aren't you? A real innocent victim in all this." The classroom fell silent. Ji Baiji was mortified. "I was wrong," she pleaded in a whisper. "I didn't post that. I can clear it up. Please, let's just get out of here." She was a seasoned pro at both using others to do her dirty work and swallowing her pride when necessary. If this were my past life, I might have held back for the sake of the Ji family, for Ji Mingyuan, for my mother, letting things slide despite having the upper hand, but not anymore. if there's a score to settle, I settle it right then and there. The computer began playing the video automatically. The moment the projected image appeared, Ji Baiji's face turned a ghastly, sickly pale. "Mom, my name is Su Baiji. I'm 5 months younger than my sister." For a dying woman who deeply loved her husband, the sudden revelation that she had another daughter hit like a bolt from the blue, snuffing out her last flicker of hope. Even in her final moments, her eyes were still fixed on the lover who betrayed her, not sparing a single glance for her own daughter. How foolish. To end one's life consumed by guilt and remorse over an irreparable love, leaving nothing behind and taking nothing with you. Thankfully, some bastard stepped in and pulled me back, stopping me from following in her footsteps. After the video ended, there was an Easter egg, the chat logs where she hinted to her friend to make the post. What's her problem? She's giving off such a sneaky, two-faced vibe. The mistress's daughter is flaunting herself in front of the legitimate wife. Isn't that just rubbing salt in the wound? You never really know what's in someone's heart. To think such a scheming woman was right beside me all along, that's terrifying. The person who was just hurling insults at me suddenly turned their spearhead towards Ji Baiji. Their words were like knives, each one cutting deep. Her gaze, tempered with hatred, fell upon me. She didn't believe she had done anything wrong, but it doesn't matter. My objective has already been achieved. In just one short week, Ji Baiji went from being the worshipped goddess of the finance department to a scheming, two-faced hypocrite. Public opinion is a weapon like that, utterly uncontrollable. Toss in a single pebble, and it can stir up a tidal wave. But this time, it's your turn, Ji Baiji. Down at the dormitory, someone who had no business being there was causing quite a stir. I stopped in my tracks. The scene from that day flashed unbidden into my mind, the sensation still lingering on my fingertips. I turned and made a quick escape. Wan Ning, I was wrong. Don't be angry anymore. Yu Xijing's voice was full of grievance, like a devoted boyfriend desperately begging for his girlfriend's forgiveness. Next time you want to touch. I covered his mouth, terrified he might blurt out something utterly shameless. I think the Oscar for Best Actor this year is yours for the taking. He gave a slight, curling smile. Thank you for the compliment. He then extended his hand to me, his voice gentle. My fiancé, I'm here to take you home, because tomorrow is our engagement ceremony. The time was short, but the preparations were anything but rushed. As I descended the stairs and saw the yard full of people, I couldn't help but wonder. Just where did Yu Xijing find so many friends and relatives? Don't like it. He seemed to read my mind, always able to guess my thoughts. The union of the Yu and Ji families should be grand. After all, it's better to convince your father that way, only then would it be worthy of you. But he kept those words to himself, just as the storm brewing in his eyes remained unseen by anyone. Dear brother, happy engagement. Yu Xilan approached with 2 glasses of wine, then took another from a waiter. You must have a drink today, or you'll be disrespecting Wan Ning. Yu Xijing never cared for alcohol. You could even say he avoided it entirely. In my past life, I only saw him drink once, on our first night together. I had meant to take the drink for him, but he was a step ahead of me. A faint smile touched Yu Xijing's lips as he gently clinked his glass against mine. The crisp sound of crystal mingled with the pounding of my heart, and together, we drained our glasses. The liquor was sharp, burning a path straight to my heart and spreading a provocative warmth. On my way to change into the evening gown, a wave of dizziness washed over me, forcing me to lean against the wall to steady myself. Is the kick from that drink really this strong? From around the corner behind me, the edge of a white suit jacket flickered into view. Who's there? I looked back, my body going weak against my will. The newcomer steadied me, his voice as slimy as a serpent's. Miss G, let me help you to rest. A door not far away opened from the inside, revealing a delicate, frail face. Come in, Aji. This is just a temporary measure. You must believe I love you. Once inside the room, Yu Xinian didn't forget to comfort the heartbroken, reluctant Ji Baiji. Be good now. You should leave. Despite 1,000 reluctances in her heart, Ji Baiji had no choice but to swallow her pride and accept it. But the very moment she turned around, I seized Yu Xinian with a backhand grip, kicked the door shut with my foot, and blocked Ji Baiji's path. Did I say you could leave? The two of them were stunned, their brows furrowed tightly, but under the absolute dominance of force, they were completely at my mercy. I found 2 pills in Ji Baiji's bag, tossed them into water, and forced a cupful down each of their throats. You didn't drink that wine. I looked pointedly at Ji Baiji. Of course not. If you don't believe me, you can ask her. Xinian, it wasn't me. I swear it wasn't me. No, that hurts. An R-rated scene was about to unfold. I turned and left without hesitation, a cold smirk curling at the corner of my lips. I pushed the door open, and to my surprise, Yu Xijing was waiting outside, His gaze was fixed intently on me, as if he could see right through me. Miss G, your skills are rather unexpected. Isn't that a required course for an heir? I brushed it off with a casual excuse, knowing full well he wouldn't believe a word I said anyway. Where's Sister Ceylon? The phone that should have been in her hand was passed to me instead. I heard his voice say, go do what you need to do, just like in a past life. I sent the surveillance footage to Ji Mingyuan, leaned against the wall, and quietly waited for the storm to break. Ji Wanning, a furious roar echoed from a distance. Ji Mingyuan, his face contorted with rage, stormed over to me and swung his arm down with brutal force. I dodged the blow, my voice icy. It seems this video needs to reach a wider audience. Are you threatening me? He spat through gritted teeth, powerless. Why don't you go die like your mother did? How do you know I haven't died already? Perhaps I'm a vengeful spirit clawing my way up from hell, coming to claim your life. It sounded like a jest, yet carried the chilling weight of truth. No one noticed Yu Sijing's tightly clenched fist. What do you want? Ji Mingyuan couldn't possibly abandon Ji Baiji. She was the only keepsake left to him by his beloved. All of your shares in the Ji group, I emphasized. Every last one. Impossible. I made a show of preparing to send the video. I can only give you 10%, or it's mutually assured destruction. My finger hovered over the share button as I sneered. It can't be worse than the utter ruin of Ji Baiji, don't you think? 20%. Ji Mingyuan's eyes bulged with fury. Don't push your luck. Remember to clear out the office tomorrow. Satisfied, I accepted the gift and ushered Yu Sijing out. As for how to interrupt whatever was happening in that room, that was no longer my concern. If you want it all, he'll give it to you, Yu Sijing stated with certainty. We should always leave something for him and Ji Baiji to squabble over. Having accomplished my task, I was in high spirits and didn't mind elaborating a bit. Besides, even a cornered rabbit will bite. It wouldn't be worth the backlash. He loves her very much. Yes, Ji Mingyuan has always been a good father. He just never belonged to me. The next day, I went to the Ji family residence. What are you doing here? Came the familiar, accusatory voice. Ji Mingyuan said impatiently. I glanced at Ji Baiji sitting beside him and said with a sneer, if someone who should have been kicked out is still here, why can't I come? Ji Baiji's eyes instantly welled up with tears. Clutching the hem of her clothes, she sobbed pitifully. I just miss father so much. Her pitiful display made Ji Mingyuan's heart ache, pointing a finger right at my face. He cursed me as an unfilial daughter. Get out of here. I withdrew my gaze from surveying the Ji family mansion and said with a cold laugh, do I need to remind you all what happened yesterday? The ones who need to get the hell out of here are you. Ji Mingyuan was seething with rage, yet he had no retort. The auction house owner will be here in half an hour to inspect the place. Do as you please. Having said that, I turned to leave. Aining, a gentle voice called out from behind me. My heart lurched, and a wave of nausea churned in my stomach. I am your father, and I do love you, so please. Promise me you won't sell the Ji family estate. There are still memories of your mother here. How could you bear to part with it? How laughable. The last time I heard the name Aining was when he summoned me to the Ji Corporation building. I went, clinging to one last shred of hope, only to be met with a pair of ruthless, shoving hands. I once exhausted every means to capture his gaze and earn his praise, endlessly questioning if I simply wasn't good enough to be liked. But the truth is, some people's hearts are inherently biased. You could give them everything, even your life, and it wouldn't stir a single ripple. I will not follow in my mother's footsteps, nor will I repeat the mistakes of my past life. I will live for myself. Memories. I gazed at the painting hanging on the living room wall. This was Ji Baiji's elementary school art assignment. It clashed with the entire house's aesthetic, yet it was still framed and displayed in the most prominent spot. I tore it down without a shred of mercy and hurled it in front of Ji Mingyuan, the glass frame shattering into pieces. The moment he crouched down to salvage the painting, I stepped on it. Are you talking about the painting you tore apart with your own hands, the lunchbox you tossed in the trash without a second glance, or the certificate of honor you so carelessly discarded, or the mother who, with her dying breath, called out only for you? A demonic whisper sounded in Ji Mingyuan's ear. And he couldn't help but take a step back. But I'm your father. Did you ever ask me if I wanted to be your daughter? The painting was crushed under a high heel. I withdrew my foot, turned, and left, my tone icy. 20 minutes left. What do you want? Ji Mingyuan called out to stop me again. All I want is for you to get the hell out of the Ji family, just like my past self. Who begged and pleaded to stay only to be met with more scorn and mockery. Now it's your turn to get a real taste of that bitterness. Outside the Ji residence, a familiar car pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Yu Sijing in the back seat, dressed in casual clothes that looked utterly out of character for him. "Get in." His tone brooked no argument. The scene before me seemed to overlap with a past life. Only back then I was in a sorry state, picked up and kept at his home. The destination turned out to be a cinema. Even for the midnight showing, it was quite crowded, mostly with student couples. Yu Sijing, sitting in the wheelchair, stiffened as he felt the gazes of passers-by. "If you don't like it, why did you choose to come here?" I knew all too well that his legs were an unhealed wound in Yu Sijing's heart. That's why he despised all social activities. They made him feel like a useless burden, incapable of doing anything. "I just felt like coming," he murmured. Head bowed so low his expression was hidden. "What would you like to eat? I'll go buy it." Across 2 lifetimes, this was the first time I had seen him like this, utterly helpless, silently enduring. He was no longer the lofty, untouchable Yu Sijing. He had fallen to earth, diminished and small. The most ridiculous part was the secret thrill that rose in my heart, as if this way I could control everything about him, keep him like a pet, and make him my most prized possession. "Yu Sijing, are you chasing after me?" I leaned down and asked, watching the tips of his ears flush a faint pink. He was shy. I'd caught him like this a few times in my past life too, but only in the heat of passion, in bed. "But we have a marriage of convenience. We can't be together." I lightly traced my fingers over his sweatshirt, letting them rest over his heart, and said temptingly, "Or, are you falling for me?" He held my hand down, yet simply looked at me without a word. Of course, proud people would never willingly bow their heads. They prefer to be the ones in control, watching others fall. I gave a low chuckle, withdrew my hand, and said coolly, "I don't care for movies, mister. You'd better find someone else." Back at the U residence, I moved back into my own room. Yu Sinian was there too. Seeing that Yu Sijing hadn't returned, he followed me. "Miss G," he said, "why do you dislike me so much?" That pitiful look could stir up sympathy and a protective instinct in many, just like my past self, who fell for it head first. "I can help you too," he said softly, slowly closing the distance. "I can be even better than Yu Sijing. Whatever he can't give you, I can." Fighting back a wave of disgust, I tilted my head slightly, a faint smile curling at the corner of my lips. Not far away, Yu Sijing was watching us with a heavy, penetrating gaze. As I drew near, Yu Sinian felt a stir in his heart and reached out to embrace me. "Get out." A cane was thrust in front of him, leaning against the wall. Yu Sijing glared with malice and hissed, "Get out of the Yu family, brother. You have no right to stand in Miss G's way. You can't make her happy." "But I can." Yu Sinian's gaze drifted pointedly to his legs, dripping with contempt. How could someone who can't even stand on his own 2 feet possibly win Ji Wanning's favor? Yu Sijing's legs trembled, humiliation burning within him. He struggled internally, yet found himself powerless to act. "But he belongs to me. I'm the only one allowed to make that expression appear on his face, no one else." I kicked Yu Sinian in the knee and warned, "If there's a next time, you won't be needing these legs either. Ji Wanning, he can't give you anything. Why won't you look at me?" Yu Sinian didn't understand how it had happened. He'd only intended to use me at first, but he slowly became drawn to me. Like a rose growing in the dark, the sharper its thorns, the more he wanted to pluck it and make it his own. "So, what can you give me?" I looked at Yu Sijing, hooking his tie with my right hand and giving it a gentle tug. "If you have nothing to offer, the day will come when my gaze lingers on someone else. Yu Sijing, tell me, what can you offer me?" With the door closed, I pinned Yu Sijing against the wall. He was utterly at my mercy. Seeing him struggle helplessly filled me with immense satisfaction. "Does bullying me make you happy?" His hand rubbed the nape of my neck, like a venomous snake pinned by its vital spot, coiled to strike back at any moment and drag its enemy down with it. "You still haven't given me an answer," I threatened. "Yu Sinian is right outside the door. I could go to him, or I could find someone else. Someone will satisfy me, won't they?" My lips were sealed by a sudden, unexpected kiss that left me breathless, our breaths tangled, hot and intimate. I bit down on his tongue and shoved him away. "Mister, you wishes to spend the night with me?" I let out a soft laugh, my gaze sweeping over the lower half of his body, a meaning too suggestive for words. The world turned upside down in an instant. Trapped in his embrace, he leaned his head against my shoulder and sighed. "What answer do you want to hear?" "Little liar, didn't you promise me you'd live on?" Suddenly, I didn't want to hear it anymore, but he held me fast, his words deliberate and low in my ear. "Have you ever seen a rose in full bloom, red as blood, its petals scattered all over the ground? The rose I coveted for half my life left me without a second glance. Tell me, what can I possibly use to make you stay? I've walked through desolate streets, witnessed desperate sunsets and the moon over barren fields. I gaze at that solitary moon, but it will never linger for me. Ji Wanning, you are my answer. The moonlight was soft, a rose broke through the soil, blooming vibrantly under the nourishing rain. Perhaps the rain grew heavier, for the rose trembled slightly, swaying as if about to fall in its confusion. A gentle breeze passed by, and it stood upright once more. The moon is no longer alone, the rose will finally bloom. Has your leg healed? My fingers traced over him, but he felt nothing. I suppose you've already found Dr. Martin, you just haven't gone to see him yet. I sat up and let out a long sigh. What a shame to waste all those positions. But if it really doesn't work out, I can always find someone else to try with. Ji Wanning, who are you saying doesn't work out? Yu Sijing said through gritted teeth. Who do you want to go find? I rolled over and sat on top of him, smiling triumphantly. Who was begging me last night? That person clearly can't keep up. I can't go, Aining, he said with his eyes closed, a pained expression on his face. I'm terrified of losing you again. I'd rather stay in this wheelchair forever. I held him close, my voice gentle. Go, I'll wait for you. Otherwise, I'll find someone else to share my bed with, every single day. You wouldn't dare. I let out a soft chuckle. You can try, Yu Sijing. At the G Corporation building, I made my way up to the penthouse without a single obstacle. The elevator doors opened to reveal a male assistant waiting there, his face unfamiliar. I don't believe we've met. I haven't been here long, so it's only natural that MSG hasn't met me yet, he said, keeping his head down as he led me to the chairman's office. Just as the door closed, I suddenly turned back and gave him a smile. You know, you'd make a better bodyguard. With perfect composure, he closed the door for me and Ji Mingyuan. You're here, said Ji Mingyuan. Leaning back in his chair with the air of someone ready to negotiate, I walked straight to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the teeming masses in the bustling city. From up here, everyone looked like ants, easily crushed by those in higher places. Why did you seize the Ji family business? Ji Mingyuan lit a cigarette, his face obscured by the swirling smoke. You and Baiji are both my daughters. What's rightfully yours, I wouldn't withhold. I wonder if someone tells so many lies that they eventually start believing them themselves, I said, more to myself. Some things, you only need to be fooled by once. I have the same selfish blood running through my veins as you do, so I know all too well that some things are better kept in one's own hands. So, it's time for you to get out. You've changed so much, Ji Mingyuan said, suddenly appearing behind me with a startling accusation. You used to follow my every instruction, kind, generous, lovely, and sensible. But when did you start learning to defy me? He pressed on relentlessly. Was it Yu Sijing's influence? No, you didn't even know him before the birthday banquet, yet you chose to collaborate with him. Then you turned their own scheme against them, setting up Baiji and Yu Sinian, and walked away with a portion of the shares. That kind of cunning and ruthlessness. It's not something Ji Wanning could ever possess. So, you're not her, I sneered. You're right, I'm a vengeful spirit clawing my way up from hell, here to haunt you and Ji Baiji for all eternity. I turned to look at him. Are you satisfied with that answer? Then don't blame me for what happens next. A wave of dizziness washed over me. In the last second before I lost consciousness, I saw the twisted, horrifying face of Ji Mingyuan. Cut the act. I know you're awake. A voice I'd heard not long ago sounded in my ear. I opened my eyes and saw the assistant. I knew there was something off about him. I looked around. The decor was simple and ordinary. Frankly, it was generic and tacky, making it impossible to get my bearings. Stop looking. No one's coming to save you. He sat on the floor by the door, a large man blocking the only escape route. Not that I was planning on running. Care to make a bet? I leaned against the wall, perfectly relaxed. You're about to get a call from Ji Mingyuan. His phone rang. He looked at me with suspicion, then answered it. Ji Wanning, how could there be another video? You lied to me. Ji Mingyuan's voice blared from the speaker, faintly accompanied by a woman's sobbing. The thought of what was happening outside made me lose my composure, and a laugh escaped my lips. How dare you laugh? The stream of curses and weeping from the other end continued, but it was all for nothing. Ji Baiji's reputation was utterly destroyed. Murderer, manipulative bitch, shameless, homewrecker's daughter. The insults rained down on her like hail, burying her in hell. Ji Mingyuan was dragged into the spotlight as well. Cheater, deadbeat dad. The renowned entrepreneur turned out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, and his standing began to crumble. I was just about to reply when, suddenly, the door was kicked open. The light fell on the figure in the doorway and into my own eyes. Yu Sijing silently untied the ropes for me. What are you doing here? He looked at me, his voice weary and defeated. If I had been any later, would I have found nothing but a corpse again? I held him, offering comfort. That wouldn't happen. It would. Yu Sijing, half crouched, looked up at me. It seemed like surrender, or perhaps a plea. Ji Wanning, don't keep putting yourself in harm's way, time and time again. Don't make me go through the pain of losing you again. I can't bear it. So this is how easy it is to control someone. I looked down at him and extended my hand. You have to trust me. Don't you? There was a long silence on the other end of the line. This was your design, too. Ji Mingyuan's voice was hoarse and aged. How did you figure out I was coming for you? He muttered to himself. But I suppose the answer doesn't matter anymore. My laughter carried through the phone to his ear as I said, Ji Mingyuan, I've called the police. In half an hour, you, Ji Baiji, and Yu Xinian will be detained for assault and kidnapping. Everything you have is finished. No. Please don't. Yu Xinian, who was also part of the scheme, shouted desperately. I only told them your itinerary. I didn't do anything else. You can't do this to me, Miss Ji. I'm begging you. I don't want to go in there, big brother. Please, talk to her for me. I'm your brother. They made me do it. They paid me off. It has nothing to do with me. The belated regret was utterly useless, but it served as a stark reminder to Ji Mingyuan. Don't touch Bai Ji. I'll do anything you want. The blare of sirens felt like it was right in his ears, his heart burning with desperation. Just let Bai Ji go, and I'll give you everything I have, including your life. My words were part memory, part temptation. Do you know how tall the G Corporation Tower is? 468 meters. Impressive, isn't it? What do you mean by that? Ji Baiji's accusatory voice seemed to fade in and out. Father, what are you doing? The call was ended, and Ji Mingyuan left his final words hanging in the air. Remember your promise, leave Baiji alone. It's a shame. He was a good father, but I was never a good daughter. 6 months later, Yu Xinian, who had been an accomplice, was released. He boarded the bus heading downtown, where the electronic screen was broadcasting the news, a grand and spectacular wedding of the century. The thought of Ji Baiji in prison made him shudder. He never wanted to go back to that nightmarish life. Verbal abuse, emotional neglect. There were so many ways to torment a person. He and Ji Baiji suffered day after day, enduring relentless psychological agony. Finally, he was free. As for Ji Baiji, countless long, dark nights still awaited her. No amount of rage or curses could alter her fate. Perhaps it would have been better if her father were still alive. Sadly, in a bid to secure her safety, Ji Mingyuan had leapt to his death, never suspecting that Ji Wanning was a madman, a devil, a man utterly without a heart. You don't belong here. Get out now. Yu Xinian was thrown out of the Yu family mansion by security. No one paid him any mind, no matter how much he screamed and shouted. When he was the second young master of the Yu family, people had fawned over him, but now, as a stain on the family's reputation, who even remembered who Yu Xinian was? 5 years later, at the G Corporation headquarters. Goodbye, Chairman. I tapped on the front desk. It's Valentine's Day. You can head out early. They shared a knowing smile, their eyes darting toward the door. Yes. Happy Valentine's Day, Chairman G. I'm so jealous, picking up Chairman G every single day after work. Rain or shine, it's enough to make anyone green with envy. Tell me about it. Everyone online says Chairman Yu is so cool and elegant. Who knew he could be this clingy? The subject of everyone's gossip stood before the car, holding a bouquet of roses. I was walking towards Yu Xijing when someone suddenly bumped into me. Are you alright? The person had fallen to the ground, covering their face with their hands and shaking their head frantically. A security guard came over to help them up, but they just took off and ran. A flicker of doubt crossed my mind. After taking a few steps, I suddenly turned back, watching her hunched figure from a distance. So it was her. Let's go home, Yu Xijing said, opening the car door. I have a little surprise for you. Taking the roses, I smiled at his words. So you've been secretly practicing your cooking for a month and finally decided to let me taste it. You already know, don't you? I've been waiting for this. Let's go home. Extra story. I don't like Yu Xijing. According to Yu Xinian, he was a cunning, manipulative, and disabled villain. On the few occasions I visited the Yu residence, I would always see him sitting in his wheelchair, glaring at me with a sinister look as if I owed him something. This resentment peaked after he saved my life. Why didn't you just let me die? The one I loved used me like a fool. The sister I adored was dead set on getting rid of me, and the father I revered only ever had eyes for others. I had become the biggest joke in the world, so I fought back with everything I had, starving myself, self-harm, running away. I tried it all. I overheard the woman who cared for me say, she's a lunatic. I heard someone tell Yu Xijing to let it go, but he simply wouldn't leave me alone. That room became my most exquisite prison, that is, until my birthday. I put on my most ingratiating smile and pleaded with him, Mr. I'd like to go outside for a bit." He let out a cold, mocking laugh. Repeating the title Mr. You under his breath, his eyes were inscrutable, yet in the end, he agreed, "Pick out something you like to wear, I'll take you out." The walk-in closet was stocked with fresh arrivals every day, all in colors and styles I adored. It made me wonder, how did he know? Yet, curiosity is often a sign of a shifting heart. I had imagined the seaside, the mall, the cinema. I never once imagined it would be a hot pot restaurant, in an instant. He pulled me from months of solitude into the bustling, vibrant world. "Why here?" As soon as I asked, I saw his expression grow even colder. "It's completely baffling, even harder to figure out than a woman's mind. I like it." He took care of ordering the soup base and all the dishes without giving me a chance to intervene. When the food arrived, I realized every single dish was my favorite. After the meal, I put down my chopsticks and said nervously, "I need to use the restroom," with a clatter. He set down his bowl, stared straight at me, and said nothing. "I need to use the restroom, all right." I stood up and quickly picked up my pace as I walked past him. Suddenly, an arm shot out and blocked my path. "You Sijing." He grabbed me tightly, scooped me up in his arms, and without a backward glance, carried me out of the hot pot restaurant and shoved me into the passenger seat. I struggled desperately to break free, but it was no use, until he pressed down, our breaths mingling. And my unfinished words were swallowed by a sudden, overwhelming kiss. Feeling the soft touch on my lips, my eyes widened in disbelief at what was happening. "Who makes you feel better, me or you, Sinian?" He whispered in my ear like a demon, stringing me along with tantalizing promises, yet never granting me the final release. As the rose petals fall into the pristine porcelain vase, a jade pestle gently grinds them to yield their essence. Press harder, and more juice flows, yet this delicate, teasing pressure is its own exquisite torment, coaxing forth a seemingly endless stream. "Why don't you remember me? We met earlier, didn't we? But it's alright, you're mine now, Ji Wanning. You can belong to no one but me." In that hazy state between sleep and wakefulness, it suddenly came back to me. I had seen Yu Sijing before, even earlier than Yu Sinian. It was also in a hot pot restaurant. He was being taunted as a cripple, a lame man, his eyes welling up with tears. Yet he didn't know how to fight back. I couldn't just stand by and watch, so I stepped in and shouted those bullies off. Truth be told, I'm not much of a fighter either. I just kept repeating the same few lines, but he looked so utterly pitiful that I had to stand up for him. "Don't be scared, you silly fool, just act tough, and they'll back off." Yu Sijing was so much more adorable as a child than he is now. After that day, the dynamic between us changed completely. By day, I was President Yu's personal assistant. By night, we recklessly surrendered to our desires. He helped me reclaim the G group. The price was to become his caged canary forever, trapped in the palm of his hand, never to fly free again. I was terrified, yet I slowly grew addicted to his control. But I could never bring myself to admit that I had fallen in love with him, the very demon who held me captive. In the moment of my fall, I saw the look of utter devastation on his face. "If there is a next life, let's meet earlier." Story 2. My boyfriend took me to the emergency room at night because of my stomach pain, but before I could even finish explaining my symptoms, the doctor cut me off dismissively. "I told you last time, a person can't have 10 abortions. You were the one who insisted on going through with it, saying it wasn't your boyfriend's child anyway. Now you come to me, but there's nothing I can do." I denied it at first. Then, coming to my senses, I got angry and demanded to see her supervisor, but my boyfriend stopped me and instead pulled me towards the examination room next door. "I believe you're not that kind of person. The priority right now is to get you checked out. We can file a complaint against her later." Before I could even file a complaint, my medical visit had already gone viral. My reputation was utterly destroyed. Under the weight of public mockery and ridicule, I fell into depression and chose to end my life. After my death, the doctor apologized to me with tears in his eyes. I just wanted to distract her because she was in so much pain. Who knew she would take it so hard? Her boyfriend was heartbroken. Maybe she had a guilty conscience. You shouldn't blame yourself. When I opened my eyes again, I wrenched my hand from my boyfriend's grip and dialed the police. "Hello, I've had 10 miscarriages without my knowledge. I suspect I've been drugged." "Good, it's supposed to hurt. Abortion procedures are common these days, but they're far from harmless. The stomach cramps are just the beginning. There are far more serious consequences waiting for you down the line. Then again, you probably don't care about any of that. From head to toe. The only thing about you that isn't a complete mess is your hair. You must be used to it by now, right?" The on-duty doctor, Zhou Xintong, looked at me with utter contempt. But when she turned to my boyfriend, Jing Yunhao, her entire expression changed. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say she was practically making eyes at him. In an instant, it hit me. I had been reborn. That's exactly what happened in my past life. I was in excruciating pain from a gastritis flare-up. And Zhou Xintong just scanned my insurance code before starting to spout nonsense. I was so furious I nearly had a stroke. I was in too much of a hurry to get medical care to confront her on the spot. But the very next day, Zhou Xintong posted a blurred-out video of my hospital visit online. Doctors these days have it so tough. This patient has had 10 abortions and then comes asking me why her stomach hurts. Of course it hurts. What did you expect? None of you were there. So you didn't see the look in her eyes. It was awful. Those who know me understand I'm her doctor, but anyone else would have thought I was the scumbag who got her pregnant and made her have the abortion. In my past life, even though Zhou Xintong had blurred my face, people still managed to identify me online, and I was subjected to a torrent of abuse. I tried my best to explain, to tell them I had kept myself clean and had never done the things they were accusing me of. But no one believed me. That's what everyone said. If you're innocent, why run? You bolted because the accusation hit home and you couldn't face it, didn't you? Exactly. Any normal person who's been wronged would kick up a fuss and file a complaint. Thank goodness the doctor released the surveillance footage first. Otherwise, they might have turned the tables and blamed the doctor later. That's how I fell into depression and, in the end, just faded away without really understanding what was happening. 2. Perhaps because I've already experienced the despair and agony of death once, this stomachache now seems a lot more bearable. I didn't panic. Instead, I pushed Jing Yunhao's hand away and looked at Zhou Xintong calmly, saying, Dr. Zhou Xintong, was that a joke just now, or were you being serious? Zhou Xintong hadn't expected me to remain so composed. She was momentarily stunned. But given her ability to spout such blatant nonsense, her mental fortitude was clearly something else. She quickly nodded and said, Of course, I'm a doctor. Why would I lie? I used to work in obstetrics and gynecology, but I recently rotated to the emergency department. You and I go way back, so pretending not to know me is pointless. Zhou Xintong suddenly turned her gaze back to Jing Yunhao. So, which number boyfriend of Su Jingwen are you? I haven't seen you around before. She always has a different guy with her for her appointments. Jing Yunhao didn't answer. He just dug his fingers into his own thigh, fighting hard to keep from laughing out loud. Last time, when Zhou Xintong spread rumors about me, he just pulled me away as if nothing had happened, saying he believed me. I was touched then, but now I just find it laughable. Of course he believed me. After all, he and Zhou Xintong knew better than anyone how innocent the first was. My expression remained calm, and my tone was completely unflustered. This is my boyfriend, Jing Yunhao. I have never had an abortion, nor have I visited a gynecologist with any other man. Zhou Xintong wore a look of sudden realization. I see, this wouldn't happen to be your actual boyfriend, would it? No wonder you're putting on this act here, pretending I was joking. Alright, Su Jingwen is right, I was joking. It's not a miscarriage, it's gastroenteritis, it's appendicitis. Quick, let me order some tests for you. Go get treatment. Although Zhou Xintong sounded like she was helping to clear my name, that sarcastic, insincere tone made it obvious to anyone that she had no choice but to back down. 3. Zhou Xintong handed me the completed examination form, but I still didn't leave. Instead, I stared into her eyes. A simple just kidding probably isn't enough, since you claim I've had 10 abortions. Show me my medical records, if you can't produce them. I waved my own phone. Then I won't let this go. Zhou Xintong's expression darkened further. She slammed the table. What do you mean by that? Are you threatening to report me? I admit I was out of line. I shouldn't have disclosed your condition like that, but I was only concerned for you. Your attitude makes it seem like I'm the villain here. I ignored her and simply continued to ask for the medical records. Seeing Zhou Xintong's dark expression, Jing Yunhao stopped smiling too. Wenwen, stop messing around. Someone must look a bit like you, or have a similar name. The doctor just mixed you up. I believe you, and I know you. I know you're not that kind of person. There's no point wasting time here. Weren't you complaining about a stomachache? Let's go get you checked out first. We'll file a complaint against her later. Without a second thought, I slapped Jing Yunhao across the face. Are you even a man? Someone spreads rumors about me right in front of you, and your solution is to hide. Jing Yunhao was stunned by my slap, unable to utter a single word. Zhou Xintong was both heartbroken and furious. You're the one who wronged your own boyfriend. How dare you turn the tables and blame others here? I was going to spare you some dignity, so you could still make things work with your boyfriend. Since you're being so ungrateful, Fine, take a look. With that, Zhou Xintong slammed her hand on the desk and roughly spun the computer monitor around. As the screen turned to face me, I was momentarily stunned, because the screen was indeed packed, line after line, with my medical records. Every single entry was from the gynecology department, either for an abortion or for some other treatment. According to this, it wasn't Zhou Xintong who was lying, the liar was me. 4. Seeing me fall silent. Zhou Xintong grew even more smug. Cat got your tongue. You were so full of yourself just a moment ago, didn't you demand proof? Well, here it is, solid, undeniable evidence. Every single one of these is your medical record. Are you still going to deny it? Still going to claim it's fake? What a shame there's no surveillance footage. Otherwise, I could show your boyfriend exactly how you begged me to arrange that abortion for you. If it weren't for me, you'd be riddled with diseases. How could you ever have landed such a perfect boyfriend? It was only when I looked at these medical records that the belated realization hit me. What happened today was no coincidence at all. Zhou Xintong didn't just run into me by chance and casually spread those rumors. It suddenly dawned on me that what happened today was premeditated. My stomach only started hurting after I ate what Jing Yunhao gave me, which proves the food was tainted. This hospital is actually quite far from where I live, yet Jing Yunhao insisted it was bigger and that he was more familiar with it, deliberately bringing me here. And Zhou Xintong had already prepared a chain of evidence to prove that I had indeed come here for multiple abortions. No wonder, in my past life, after the incident blew up online, I begged Jing Yunhao to testify for me, but he just looked pained and conflicted. Wen, you know I believe you, but if I try to explain, it'll only fan the flames and make things worse. The best approach is to let it cool off. I'm only doing this for your own good. Here's an idea. Why don't we just go get our marriage license first? Once we're married, that'll be the best proof of all. But things didn't get any better after we got married. I started having trouble sleeping, lost my appetite. And it wasn't until I went to the hospital that I found out I was suffering from depression. 5. Seeing my expression grow increasingly grim, Jing Yunhao quickly crouched down. Wen, don't be scared, and don't be angry. I believe you. Even with these records, I still believe you. The name Su Jingwen isn't your exclusive property. Other people can use it too. It's definitely just a coincidence of having the same name. At this point, Jing Yunhao turned his anger on Zhou Xintong. Is that the kind of thing a doctor should say? Don't you understand the concept of patient confidentiality? I'm going to file a complaint against you. Give me your supervisor's number right now. I won't let this slide after the way you've spoken about my girlfriend. Zhou Xintong rolled her eyes. No wonder Su Jingwen is so brazen. She's got you, her personal doormat, backing her up. Go on then, go ahead and file a complaint against me. I'd love to see what exactly I did wrong. Their argument grew louder and more heated, teetering on the brink of a physical fight. The commotion quickly drew the attention of numerous patients, as well as the hospital's duty manager. After briefly getting the gist of the situation, the duty supervisor, Director Liu, immediately apologized to me. I'm truly sorry, but right now, your health is the top priority. I'll personally take you for a checkup and oversee your treatment myself. We can discuss everything else after you've recovered. Of course, I'm not the only one who should apologize for this. Zhou Xintong needs to apologize as well. However, Zhou Xintong did not apologize. Instead, she loudly defended herself to the onlookers, giving a heavily embellished account of what happened before finally breaking down in tears. Can you all tell me if I'm in the wrong here? I was just trying to do the right thing by advising Ms. Su Jingwen against having another abortion. Was that so terrible of me? She brings a different man with her every single time she comes in. How was I supposed to know if this one was her boyfriend or just a friend? You can't just force a doctor to apologize without even looking into the facts. If that's how it works, who would ever want to become a doctor? 6. The onlookers were all patients, so naturally they trusted the doctor more. So, one by one, they started blaming me, but I've heard far worse insults and endured more disgusting online harassment. So these words really didn't faze me, but my stomach was still aching. So I couldn't be bothered to argue. Instead, I just pulled out my phone. Everyone, quiet down. I'm calling the police right now. As soon as they heard I was going to call the police, Jing Yunhao panicked. Wen, how can you call the police for something like this? Look at all these people with their phones out. If you get the police involved, what will happen to your reputation? I already told you, I believe you. And no matter what the truth turns out to be, it won't change how I feel about you. Isn't it enough that I'm the one who believes in you? The mention of calling the police made Zhou Xintong a little scared. Isn't an apology all you want? Why resort to threats? Fine, I apologize. I was wrong. It wasn't you who had 10 abortions. It was me. Are you happy now? If that's still not enough, I'll take a leave of absence. No, I'll resign. I'll take responsibility and resign. The more Zhou Xintong spoke, the more aggrieved she became. And her tears kept flowing without end. If I weren't the one being slandered and framed, I'd have felt sorry for Zhou Xintong myself and cursed out this so-called disruptive patient, me. But I didn't say that. I gave Zhou Xintong a weak smile and said, Dr. Zhou, you've really misunderstood me. I didn't call the police because of you. Honestly, I'm truly grateful to you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have known any of this was happening. Zhou Xintong was stunned, even forgetting to cry. What are you talking about? If you're grateful to me, then why did you call the police? At that very moment, the emergency call connected. I didn't answer Zhou Xintong, but instead spoke into the phone. Hello, officer. I'm at Ping'an Hospital. I just found out that I've had 10 abortions without my knowledge. I suspect I was given some new kind of memory-erasing drug. Please, you have to come quickly. 7. After she said this, everyone was stunned. Even the onlookers who had just been standing outside the door calling me a slut were dumbfounded. Zhou Xintong wanted to say something, but she didn't know where to begin. I took Zhou Xintong's hand, my eyes welling up with tears, and said, Dr. Zhou. I'm truly sorry for the misunderstanding. I really thought you were talking nonsense at first, but after seeing these records, I now know you're a genuinely good doctor. If it weren't for you, I might never have found out in my entire life. I wasn't pretending not to know you earlier. I genuinely didn't recognize you, but it's alright. Once the police arrive, I'm sure everything will be cleared up. After I finished speaking, I looked at the on-duty Director Liu and pleaded, Director, please, you have to examine me. My stomach is killing me. I thought it was gastroenteritis before, but now I'm thinking it could be a uterine perforation, or maybe a cyst, an ectopic pregnancy, something like that. Please, you have to help me. Director Liu was afraid something would go wrong. He immediately took me for tests. Because it was handled as an emergency, the results came back quickly. It was just acute gastroenteritis, no gynecological or infectious disease issues at all. That's when everyone started to sense something was off, so they didn't even examine her. I thought the patient was causing a scene after being checked, coming to the hospital in the middle of the night in excruciating pain, only to be denied an examination, and then having her miscarriage brought up. Who wouldn't be furious about that? Actually, I'm starting to think there might be more to the miscarriage story. If it were me, I wouldn't dare call the police. Seeing that everyone was starting to take my side, Zhou Xintong was so choked up she couldn't even cry, and could only look pleadingly at the clueless Jing Yunhao standing beside her. Jing Yunhao quickly grabbed my arm. The test results are in, and your symptoms have improved a lot. Let's just go home and stop making a scene here. Just as we were caught up in our little tug-of-war, the police arrived. 8. As soon as the police arrived, Jing Yunhao hurried over. Officers. It's all a misunderstanding. My girlfriend came for a medical appointment, had a disagreement with the doctor, and called the police as a joke. I know this was wrong, and I'll talk to her about it. But please, she's a patient right now. Could you speak to her a little more gently? The police ignored Jing Yunhao and instead came straight to me to ask what had happened. The female officer questioning me said gently, Don't be afraid. You can tell us anything. A warm feeling spread through me. This was one of the few genuine acts of kindness I had received in both my lifetimes, which made me feel a pang of self-pity. I described the entire incident in the simplest terms, leaving nothing out. The police took me to get examined, then collected all the medical records and documents, saying they would investigate. That whole ordeal is finally over, and my stomach pain has completely subsided. Jing Yunhao followed cautiously behind me. But we hadn't gone more than a few steps before we heard Director Liu's voice, furious, berating Zhou Xintong. Zhou Xintong, I'd really like to know what's going on in that head of yours. Back in obstetrics and gynecology, you gave attitude to patients coming in for abortion consultations, and now in the ER you're causing trouble. If you don't want to do this job, then get out. This is a hospital, a place where patients should find comfort. Not your personal stage for throwing a princess tantrum. Zhou Xintong ran off in tears. Jing Yunhao, who had been following me, was heartbroken and just stood there foolishly, watching her go. I couldn't be bothered to keep up the act with Jing Yunhao either, so I just got in my car and drove away. After getting home, I took my medicine and fell into a deep sleep. My dreams were filled with scenes from my past life. I woke up feeling utterly drained. More exhausted than if I hadn't slept at all. I had hoped waking up would clear my head a bit, but when I picked up my phone, I discovered I'd been dragged onto the trending list again. 9. This time is different from the last. Last time I trended, it was orchestrated by Zhou Xintong and Jing Yunhao. But this time, it was organic. A lot of bystanders posted what they filmed online, so there was no blurring at all. Most netizens who saw the video ended up siding with me. Putting myself in that girl's shoes, I feel utterly hopeless. If I went to see a doctor and they spread rumors about me right in front of my boyfriend, I definitely wouldn't be able to stay that calm. Without even conducting an examination, he just jumped to the conclusion that it was from multiple abortions. What a miracle doctor. He doesn't even need to observe, listen, ask, or feel the pulse. Am I the only one who saw the follow-up? The woman went to get checked out. And it turned out to be gastroenteritis from eating something bad. It wasn't a gynecological issue at all. The situation kept escalating. Before I could even say anything, Zhou Xintong went ahead and registered an account herself. She posted a resignation letter along with an apology video where she looked utterly exhausted and was crying. This whole mess started because of me. I didn't watch what I said. So I've chosen to resign voluntarily. I hope this can be the end of it. I apologize once again to Ms. Su Jingguan. As soon as Zhou Xintong posted this video, whether she bought a bunch of fake accounts or her acting was just that good, it definitely shifted the online narrative quite a bit. Being a doctor is tough. Even though this doctor's tone wasn't the best, it was clear he cared about the patient. It was the patient pulling out their phone to file a complaint that started this whole mess. That's just how people are these days, filing complaints over every little thing, acting like they're the center of the universe. This is honestly hilarious. The patient was so adamant they'd done nothing wrong, but went pale as a ghost when they saw their medical records, and then they had the nerve to call the police. Can't wait for the cops to set the record straight. 10. And so, the two groups argued fiercely. A few days later, the police investigation results came out. Because too much time had passed, the police could only confirm that the medical records were genuine. I had indeed been to the hospital. However, based on my blood test results, it couldn't be determined whether I had been drugged. The police also released my medical examination report. While the report couldn't definitively confirm whether I'd had an abortion, one finding was stated clearly. Based on my examination and results, my physical signs were consistent with someone who had never given birth or undergone any intrauterine procedures. However, the release of these findings didn't improve the situation. On the contrary, even more people sided with Zhou Xintong. Everyone thinks I'm filing a police report to shift the blame and cover up the truth. But the truth is, I really did undergo those surgeries. The female police officer made a point of finding me in private. Due to the lack of blood test evidence and surveillance footage, we can't help you prove that you were drugged. However, you can request a copy of your own medical records. I believe you might find some issues there yourself. I was immensely grateful and also picked up on the officer's underlying message. I reported to the police that I was drugged. Since I wasn't, they obviously can't open a case, but if I discover any other issues, I can definitely still seek help from the police. There was no time to lose. I immediately wanted to go to the hospital to get a copy of my medical records, but Jing Yunhao stopped me again. Wen, I know you've been wronged in this matter, but these things are all handled by computers now, and mistakes are bound to happen. Why do you have to dig so deep and insist on getting to the bottom of it? I've thought it all through. We can go get the marriage certificate first. Once we're married, everyone will know you must be innocent. After we get the marriage license, I'll take you to see a therapist. 11. Looking at Jing Yunhao's face, full of pained concern and deep affection, I just felt sick. Had I not lived through a past life, I would have been deeply moved by him. After all these years together, he has always treated me exceptionally well. You could even say he's been utterly devoted, claiming the nanny wasn't attentive enough. He learned to cook himself and brought me meals, never repeating a dish for 365 days a year. With my lack of exercise causing constant aches and pains, he taught himself fitness and massage techniques to help ease my discomfort. But now I'm completely certain that my so-called perfect boyfriend actually has another woman in his heart, and the only reason he's with me boils down to one thing: money. I'm an orphan. My parents passed away early, leaving me with a vast fortune, precisely because I grew up without parents. I have a very weak concept of family. Coupled with all the negative news I see online, I've decided to remain single and child-free. Jing Yunhao was fully supportive of my decision. We're together for love, not for a piece of paper. As for children, I have even less say. If you want kids, I'm on board. If you don't, I won't object either. Yet, this seemingly perfect boyfriend was secretly hatching this plan with Zhou Xintong, all in the hopes that I'd be desperate enough to marry Jing Yunhao as a last resort. I have no idea what their original plan was. Was it to drive me completely insane, lock me away in an asylum so they could be together, or did they just want to inherit my fortune and become a legitimate couple? I can't figure it out. But none of that matters anymore. I didn't agree to marry Jing Yunho. But I did agree to his suggestion that I see a therapist, just like in my previous life. The tests and evaluations showed I had severe depression and anxiety. The doctor wanted to admit me to the hospital, but Jing Yunho refused. He promised to take good care of me himself, insisting that a hospital environment wouldn't aid my recovery. That's why I went back home. 12. In the days that followed, I started taking the medication prescribed by the doctor. However, it wasn't effective at all. In fact, my condition only seemed to get worse as my condition deteriorated. I naturally had no way to respond. My silence, combined with Zhou Xintong losing her job and starting to stream daily, caused my reputation to plummet. It was almost like my past life. I became a public enemy, a target of scorn. I couldn't leave the house. Whenever I step outside, people point and stare. Some even come right up to me and ask, with your reputation in the gutter, have any of the men who got you pregnant come looking for you? I can't accept package deliveries. That's because most of the packages aren't things I ordered. They're sent by concerned citizens, containing things like black and white photos of me, blood-stained clothes, and all sorts of dead rats. I can't turn on my phone or go online. My contact information had long been doxed. The moment I turned my phone on, it would be bombarded with calls and texts from all corners of the country. But thankfully, I had Jing Yunho. He shielded me from all the online harassment, allowing me to rest and recover at home in peace. Yet, my condition only grew worse, and the worse I became, the happier Jing Yunho seemed, and the more incessantly he proposed marriage, wanting to care for me as my rightful husband. I figured it was about time, so I told him to go back and get his ID. As soon as he left, I turned around, registered an account, and started a live stream, copying Zhou Xintong's style. Since this whole thing was getting a lot of attention, the moment I went live, a bunch of people flooded into the stream just to curse me out. Oh, so you're trying to turn the tables and frame Dr. Zhou, huh? Do you think we're just mindless netizens? The police aren't on your side, the medical records are crystal clear. Do you really think a few flimsy excuses are going to cut it? It's precisely because of people like you, who cause disturbances in hospitals, that some are discouraged from pursuing a career in medicine. 13. The number of viewers in the live stream kept climbing. I let out a sigh. The reason I haven't responded all this time isn't because I'm in the wrong, it's because I'm suffering from severe depression. I believe any woman who went through what I did would find it impossible to just carry on as if nothing happened. I presented my clinical diagnosis for depression, but the online crowd wasn't buying it. Instead, they accused me of faking my illness for sympathy and to guilt-trip them. And the criticism only grew harsher, but that was exactly the effect I was aiming for. Just when the public outrage was at its peak and people were practically ready to drown me in their scorn, I produced the medical records I had secretly copied. When I said I have depression, it wasn't to fish for sympathy. I just wanted to explain why I hadn't clarified the situation for so long. Actually, clearing this whole thing up is really quite simple. As I spoke, I opened the medical record. This is my medical record. As you can see, the 5th and 6th abortions are recorded less than 20 days apart. I'd like to ask everyone, how could I possibly get pregnant for 2 months within a span of 20 days? Furthermore, at the time of the first recorded abortion, I was stranded abroad due to the pandemic. How could I have teleported back to the country to have an abortion? The last one is even more absurd. I was back in my hometown attending a wedding. Here's a group photo from the wedding, and the timestamps are coincidentally just 1 minute apart, I said with a laugh. The netizens also noticed something was off, because many of these miscarriages were simply impossible to pull off. If I could actually do that, it wouldn't be a matter of miscarriages anymore. They'd probably detain me for research. It might lead to a major breakthrough in teleportation. I saw the barrage comments starting to get confused. I looked back at the camera and said, Dr. Zhou, you claim to know me. You say you personally performed every one of my abortions. Can you tell me, exactly how did you do it? 14. Zhou Xintong, of course, didn't dare to respond, but the more she stayed silent, the more suspicious the netizens became. So, one by one, they took it upon themselves to flood Zhou Xintong's social media accounts with comments, using the same tactics of online harassment they had once used against me. Dr. Zhou, if you're so aggrieved, why don't you speak up? I'm not a medical professional, but I'd also like to know how a pregnancy can be 2 months along in just 20 days. Here's something not everyone knows. It seems Dr. Zhou and Ms. Su Jingwen's boyfriend were each other's first love. As the number of people criticizing Zhou Xintong grew, and since she didn't have the same thick skin as I do, she chose to delete her account and go into hiding. It's unclear whether she came up with that plan herself or if Jing Yunhao suggested it to her. But some problems can't be solved by simply running away. It's not just netizens who are pressing Zhou Xintong for answers. The Medical Insurance Bureau has also launched an investigation into the matter. The investigation turned out to be incredibly straightforward. It was insurance fraud Zhou Xintong used to look down on Jing Yunhao. But after he got together with me, his fortunes changed overnight. However, Zhou Xintong didn't know his money came from me, so she immediately wanted to get back with him. To get back together, she came up with the simplest plan. Using her position and Jing Yunhao's help, she got hold of my medical insurance code and deliberately used my card to pay for other patients' surgeries. Whenever she had a patient like that, she would tell them they could get a discount for paying in cash, so the patients would transfer the money to her each time. She would then use my insurance code to settle the bill. Thinking I was so wealthy, she would prescribe the most expensive, top-tier medication for every patient. Precisely because of this, despite her terrible temper, she had an excellent reputation, and precisely because of that, the hospital kept her on. That's exactly why the police investigation revealed that I had indeed visited the clinic so many times. I didn't even have to call the police this time. Zhou Xintong was arrested directly for suspected insurance fraud, and the amount involved was huge. 15. The news of Zhou Xintong's arrest had just broken when Jing Yunhao showed up. I leave you alone for a few days, and you managed to stir up this much trouble. I scoffed coldly. What's the matter? Getting nervous? Jing Yunhao looked somewhat embarrassed. All that stuff online is nonsense. Zhou Xintong and I aren't some childhood sweethearts. At most, we were just classmates and friends from before. You can't ruin her life just to win some petty competition with another woman. She's already lost her job because of you. Do you want her to lose her freedom too? You need to go testify for her immediately. Say you were the one who initiated the insurance fraud and that she had nothing to do with it. Otherwise, with an amount this large, she's going to prison. That's a ridiculous thing to say, and I actually did laugh. Jing Yunhao, do you take me for a fool? You were acting strange back at the hospital. Instead of confronting me, you just kept trying to avoid me. That's not how a normal person would act. When everyone was criticizing me, you didn't care at all. But now that it's Zhou Xintong, you're suddenly in a hurry. And another thing, how did Zhou Xintong get my medical insurance code? Can't we just be honest about it and stop pretending? Perhaps my expression was too contemptuous, because Jing Yunhao really couldn't hold back any longer. It's not what you think. I did give your medical insurance code to Xintong, and she did use it, but her heart was in the right place. She didn't want those girls to be unable to afford their surgeries. You're a girl too. Shouldn't we help each other out? I've looked into it. If you just admit to the insurance fraud, you won't get a heavy sentence. I'll wait for you out here. I'll be here when you get out. Everyone will see you did the right thing. Jing Yunhao's argument sounded perfectly reasonable. I seemed tempted, but could only let out a helpless sigh. What a shame. It's just too late. Jing Yunhao was baffled. I pointed to the camera nearby, because I'm live streaming, and your words just helped convict Zhou Xintong. In fact, you're an accomplice. 16. Only then did Jing Yunhao realize the live stream had hundreds of thousands of followers. The irony is, he had no idea. With that one statement, he went from being the loyal boyfriend who stood by his girlfriend against the rumors, to the scumbag who conspired with his first love to scheme against his current partner. Jing Yunhao was practically on his knees. He had watched Zhou Xintong and me endure the cyberbullying firsthand, so he understood its viciousness better than anyone. That's why he frantically snatched my phone and turned it off, watching me plead with him in desperation. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Wen. I'll tell you everything. The truth is, I'm innocent. It was Zhou Xintong who asked for your medical insurance code, saying it would help her show me what kind of person you really are. I gave it to her, but then she went silent. It wasn't until recently that she said she'd found something and told me to take you to the hospital, even though I trusted you. I was also genuinely curious. That's why I agreed to take you. But when I heard what Zhou Xintong was saying, I realized she was just making things up. That's when I tried to get you out of there. You have to believe me. Do all the thousands of times I've been good to you really count for less than this one thing? I promise. I'll cut all ties with her. From now on, it's only you. Okay, Jing Yunhao spoke with great seriousness and seemed utterly sincere. Yet, I whispered in his ear, I'm well aware of what you're scheming, but don't worry, Zhou Xintong's sins are her own. Your crimes are far greater than hers. Jing Yunhao was taken aback. What crime have I committed? I didn't answer, just smiled. What crime you've committed, the police will tell you. I have no obligation to inform you. As soon as the words were spoken, A group of police officers rushed in from outside and apprehended a thoroughly bewildered Jing Yunhao, 17. Jing Yunhao struggled desperately. "You've got the wrong person. I'm innocent. I had nothing to do with what happened to Zhou Xintong." "You can't believe a word Su Jingwen says. She's mentally ill, genuinely mentally ill. I have proof. I was the one who personally took her to the hospital. If you don't believe me, go check. Her medical records are absolutely genuine. What's more, I have a video of her hospital visit on my phone. She can't possibly deny it." I watched him squirm with a cold stare, waiting until he'd talked himself out before I spoke. "It's true I saw a psychiatrist, but the doctor said my depression was a normal reaction to my circumstances, and it's not severe. Also, I've already handed the medication the doctor prescribed me over to the police." The moment Jing Yunhao heard that, he was instantly struck speechless. Wen. "I don't have any ill intentions. You have to let me explain. I just didn't want you to be troubled by all this. That's why I put something in your medicine, to help you forget." The police officer was utterly speechless. "We found a lethal poison in the medication. Is this your idea of helping her? By killing her?" Thankfully, Ms. Su Jingwen realized in time and didn't take much, or she'd be dead already. The mention of poison sent Jing Yunhao into a frenzy. I didn't do it. What I put in was medication for mental illness, not poison at all. Something's definitely wrong here. Wen, you have to believe me. I just wanted you to rely on me a little more. I love you. I could never hurt you, let alone kill you. I'll confess everything. My goal was for you, Wen, to get cyberbullied. That way, I could marry you and get my hands on your money. I swear I didn't do it." Jing Yunhao protested his innocence vehemently, but he was still taken away by the police. Chapter 18. In the courtroom, Zhou Xintong and Jing Yunhao turned on each other, each trying to shift the blame, a far cry from the picture of deep affection and devotion they had presented in their previous life. However, some things cannot be resolved simply by denial. In the end, Zhou Xintong's insurance fraud was proven, due to the enormous sum involved, the negative publicity it generated, and her own uncooperative attitude during the proceedings. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison. As for Jing Yunhao, his act of poisoning was ruled as premeditated murder, and he was directly sentenced to 20 years. Jing Yunhao frantically denied any involvement, shouting, "It must have been Zhou Xintong. She's the one who tampered with the medicine." However, the surveillance footage from my home clearly showed that it was Jing Yunhao himself who had secretly switched my medication. It had nothing to do with Zhou Xintong. Even after the case was closed, Jing Yunhao still refused to admit his guilt. It's almost laughable, but the truth is, I actually trusted Jing Yunhao, because I was the one who put the substance in the medicine myself. After being reborn, I found it strange. I'm not the type of person who would commit suicide, so why did my condition worsen the more medicine I took, ultimately leading me to choose to end my life? That's why I quickly realized there was something wrong with the medicine. But I didn't lose my temper. Instead, I decided to play along. What's the point of drugs that just make me lose my mind? If we're playing with pills, let's go all in. But I don't think I went too far, because compared to hating Zhou Xintong, the one I truly resent is Jing Yunhao. He's the one who should be held responsible for my death. After this incident, I never saw either of them again. Years later, however, I heard what became of them. Zhou Xintong went mad not long after being sent to prison. And Jing Yunhao was granted medical parole due to illness, but he died even after receiving treatment. Even though I had long since moved on with my new life, hearing this news still brought me a great deal of satisfaction. That's the end of the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more thrilling. The day after I bought the car, my cousin insisted on borrowing it. I just need it for the wedding. I'll give it right back after the ceremony. We're family. You wouldn't say no to a little favor like this, would you? Little did I know, the car was gone for good. Out of respect for the good relationship between our elders, I went to his place and politely asked for the car back, but my cousin just flew off the handle and started yelling at me. You promised I could use it. What's the big idea asking for it back now? What's the rush? It's not like I won't give it back. I'll return it for sure once I've saved up enough to buy my own new car. Seeing no hope of getting the car, I took the spare key and drove it away under cover of night. I had just started the engine when I slammed on the brakes in fright. A familiar face lay under the front wheel, grinning at me with a sinister smile. I grinned back. That night, a car drove onto the Binjiang Bridge, crashed through the railing, and plunged into the water below. When my cousin came to borrow the car, I was extremely reluctant to part with it. The brand new SUV I'd just picked up represented the down payment I'd scraped together after 3 years of work, but considering we were family and on pretty good terms, I relented. My cousin's wedding was a joyous occasion our family hadn't seen in a long time. With a simple "we're family, I'll just use it for the wedding and give it right back," I dutifully handed over my car keys. After the wedding, I eagerly went looking for my cousin. My cousin clinked glasses with me in a carefree manner. "Had enough to eat and drink? You should head home early if you're all done, little lady. Don't make your big brother worry. I'm all done eating." I was just about to drive back. I opened my palm and was just about to reach out for the car keys. My cousin promptly closed my hand. "No way, I'm letting you pay for this. Here, I'll find you a ride." My cousin craned his neck, scanning the area, then pulled and pushed me into a Santana sedan. "Uncle, could you give my cousin a lift to the Red Sun neighborhood?" Before I could say a word, the smell of a boozy burg hit me. In the back seat, besides me, were two drunk men huffing and puffing. My hair stood on end, and I immediately wanted to get out of the car. "Don't be so formal with your cousin, girl." My cousin blocked the car door from the outside, signaling his great uncle to drive off quickly. I hurriedly leaned against the car window. "Cousin, you still haven't returned the car. I really needed to get to work tomorrow." My cousin waved his hand dismissively. "Need it or not, you managed to get to work just fine before you had a car, didn't you? Oh, by the way, I'm having some buddies over for dinner tonight. Can your car fit 6 people? 6 people, that's pushing it. All right, I'll figure something out." After urging his uncle to start the Santana, he turned around with a grin to see the guests off. It was their big day, and making a scene by chasing after them would have been in poor taste. I decided to ask for the car back the next day. "The car is registered in my name, after all. It's not like he can just keep it." To be honest, I'm not particularly close with this cousin of mine. Ever since we were kids, he's always taken advantage of me. He'd swipe snacks and toys from my house. The next day, he'd sweet-talk me out of my pocket money. After we started working, he'd hit me up for a loan every other week, always finding some excuse to put off paying me back. On one occasion, they even tried to trick me into being a loan guarantor. Fortunately, I caught on in time and avoided being saddled with the debt. The trouble is, our elders are close relatives who see each other often, and my mother especially listens to my eldest uncle, so a lot of these matters just can't be settled clearly. But no matter what, this is a brand new car, my very first car in life. I treasure it from the bottom of my heart. If it weren't for my uncle calling me 8 times a day to borrow it, I'd never have let it go. I spent the whole night worrying that the new car leather smell hadn't even faded before it got soaked with smoke and booze. I was so miserable I barely slept a wink all night, and even my dreams were about washing the car. The next day at noon, I swallowed my pride and went to knock on my cousin's door. There was no answer. I finally managed to get through on the phone, and all I could hear was the alternating sounds of a navigation system and thumping DJ music from his end. "Hey, I'm driving on the highway right now. Your sister-in-law and I are striking while the iron's hot. We're on our honeymoon." I couldn't believe it. "You're taking my car on your honeymoon?" My cousin floored it. "Gotta say, driving a brand new car is just so smooth." "Hey, you got all the insurance sorted, right?" "Just now, while backing up, we scraped some paint off a parked car on the side of the road, but their car lost way more paint. We took off right away." "How could you just drive off after a collision? What if the other car's owner comes after you? You need to turn the car around and go back right now." My cousin just laughed it off casually. "No big deal. What car doesn't go through a little rough weather? Think of it as me taking it out to see the world. When I get back from my honeymoon, I'll pay to have it properly detailed." Problem solved. "Is this really about getting the car washed?" I tried to stop him. "My car's on temporary plates, so I can't drive it out of the province." My cousin laughed. I know. We're just planning a proper in-province tour. It's not like we're short on sites around here. But, ugh, I can't talk right now. I'm driving. Don't be so inconsiderate." My sister-in-law's gentle voice chimed in from the side. "Honey, that piece of junk just cut us off. Speed up and pass him. You got it. If we don't teach that clunker a lesson, he'll think he can push us around." They took my car for a joyride on the highway without even asking, hung up on me without a second thought. I was left speechless, with a lump in my throat. Some in-depth provincial tour that was broke, but still putting on a show. I told myself that marriage is a major life event, so I'd just consider it my gift. But I never could have imagined what came next. My cousin's honeymoon ended up being a 2-week-long affair. The only place I get to see my new car is in my cousin's social media posts. As soon as I heard my cousin was back, I rushed right over to his place. My cousin's wife, all smiles, shoved some local treats into my hands, a pack of candies, a bag of biscuits, 2 big bags of sunflower seeds and a piece of hawthorn cake. "It's a bit heavy. Take it back and enjoy it slowly. It's a little something from your brother and me. The corner of my mouth twitched. What, you think I'm some kind of beggar you can just brush off? Did they really think I didn't see the nut shop downstairs having a clearance sale on my way up? You two can keep that and savor it yourselves. I'm here to pick up the car. Seeing me get straight to the point about the car, the couple's smiles instantly vanished. Tisk. How petty. My sister-in-law rolled her eyes without a hint of courtesy. My cousin smacked his lips and said, Shally, don't take this the wrong way, but it's no wonder you haven't gotten a promotion. You have zero emotional intelligence when you speak. Swallowing my exasperation, I forced myself to say, let's just be direct. I bought that car for my daily commute. Now that the wedding's over, it's time for you and my brother to give it back. My cousin's wife stamped her foot, her lips pursed. Hey. What's the big idea? Is this some kind of bait and switch from the Lin family? We had an agreement before I married in. I was supposed to have a car to use. That's the only reason my parents agreed to the wedding. My cousin shot me a glare. See, this is what I mean about you having no tact. Who doesn't want convenience? Isn't that the whole point of us borrowing the car? To make our lives easier? He slammed his hand on the table. Besides, your cousin's wife has to commute across districts for work, and my office is way out in the suburbs. Which one of us has a shorter commute than you do? Look, you're still young. Whatever difficulties you have, you can tough it out. It's me and your sister-in-law who really need it urgently. That was completely unreasonable. My expression turned cold as well. I don't care about the issues between you two. This is my car. Give me back the keys. I'm taking it back today. Fine. So the whole Lin family is ganging up on me. Is that it? My cousin's wife plopped down on the floor and started wiping her tears. Lin Tao, I need a straight answer today. Can we use this car or not? If not, I'm packing my things and going back to my parents' house right now. I'm not afraid of a divorce. Seeing that he couldn't calm his wife down, my cousin turned and started yelling at me. Shally, are you deliberately trying to ruin my family's happiness? Just because you can't get anyone yourself, don't you dare come and mess up my life. Let me make this perfectly clear to you today. You are absolutely not driving this car away. I can't believe there are people with such nerve. My head is spinning. I paid for this car with my own money. What gives you the right to say I can't take it? You promised to pay it back right after the wedding. How dare you go back on your word and then get aggressive with me? I was absolutely furious, but then my cousin's eyes darted around, and he switched to a smiling face. Oh, come on now. Is that really necessary? Look at you, getting all red-faced and worked up over a family matter. He cleared his throat. I told you it was a loan. And I will pay you back, I promise. He rubbed his hands together nervously. But look, your sister-in-law is still in tears. We're newlyweds. You can't seriously want to force us to get a divorce, can you? He thumped his chest. Trust me on this. I'm planning to buy a car myself. As soon as I get my new one, I'll return yours right away. Seeing that I remained silent, my cousin brought up the past again. Don't forget who was there, working tirelessly to help when your mother was in the hospital. We were the ones who took care of everything back then. You have to remember a good turn deserves another. You owe me at least this much. He brought up my mother's hospital stay again, and I couldn't bring myself to get angry this time either. Back then, my mother had a sudden, serious illness, and of all times, I was away on a business trip, racing to finish a crucial project. As a core member of the team, I couldn't just drop everything and leave. I was truly grateful that my cousin and uncle stepped in to care for her at the hospital, and I'll always remember their kindness. After returning from my business trip, I bought a lot of high-end local specialties and sent them over. Later, when my aunt fell ill, I even rearranged my work shifts to take care of her for a few days. I also slipped my aunt a very generous red envelope. Later on, I used my connections and paid out of my own pocket to help my cousin secure his current job. Honestly, I've given my fair share. But you can't keep a strict ledger on personal favors. My cousin treats that time I was hospitalized as some huge debt I owe him. It reminds me of how my mother has always been so deferential to my uncle. I couldn't bring myself to be stubborn any longer. This is the last time. Consider it my final gesture of respect for our family bond. Seeing my resolve soften, my cousin smiled and patted my shoulder. So you've come around. We're family, after all. Splitting hairs over what's yours and mine is pointless. Listen to me. I'll have your car back to you in 2 weeks, tops. Moved by that appeal to family and the goodwill from our elders' past relationship, I agreed once more. But a month later, my cousin showed no sign of returning the car. Every time I called, he'd bring up his hospital stay. I'm absolutely furious. I've already repaid, to the best of my ability, the help I received when my mother was in the hospital. I've given their family my time, my effort, and my money. Is this debt of gratitude never ending? Do they think they can hold it over me for the rest of my life? Besides, I scrimped and saved for the down payment on that car, and I'm the one stuck with the long-term loan payments. How on earth did it become his personal property? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. And I resolved to go to his place and demand the car back. Seeing how firm I was, my cousin raised his voice too. Shelley, I'm putting my foot down right here, right now. I'm used to this car and I'm keeping it. You want it? Go buy yourself another one. I didn't even get a chance to argue before he shoved me out of the residential complex. I was absolutely furious. If that's how you want to play it, we'll see you in court. My cousin sneered from behind the residential gate. You'd actually take me to court. Forget whether folks back home would laugh at you. Aren't you afraid your parents will be gossiped about and end up in the hospital from the stress you're causing? That was a blatant threat and a curse. He's completely shameless, going to such lengths to keep my car. I had to watch him swagger right through his front door. I just can't swallow this insult. Rather than getting tangled in a legal battle with someone like him, I'd much rather take a shortcut. If the direct approach doesn't work, we'll have to be more discreet. That night, I slipped into the underground garage of my cousin's apartment complex under cover of darkness. I used the spare key to unlock it. After 2 long months, I was finally back in the driver's seat of my own car. I stared at the completely trashed interior and the stale cigarette smoke that seemed permanently embedded in the car. A mix of anger and heartache washed over me. As I went to fasten my seatbelt, I found a torn pair of stockings tangled around it. Upon closer inspection, there appeared to be small, crusted white spots. What a pair of sluts. Who the hell said they could do that in my car? I was so furious, my temples were throbbing. Start the car right now. Immediately. Gotta go wash the car first. My mind was completely occupied with the idea of a deep clean. The wheels had barely started turning when 2 dark figures flashed before my eyes. It was like something out of a midnight horror. I slammed on the brakes in a panic. A pair of large hands pressed down on the hood of my car. It was my cousin, Lin Tao. He stared at me with a sinister gaze. Oh, you want to play dirty, huh? He gestured toward the ground with his chin. Go ahead, start it. I'll turn your shiny new car into a death trap. I got out of the car to take a look. My aunt, who had just been discharged after a cerebral hemorrhage and could barely hold her trembling cane, was now sprawled right in front of the car. Are you out of your mind? Are you treating your own mother's life like a joke? Seeing how shocked I was, my cousin laughed. You brought this on yourself. Unless someone dies here today, you're not driving this car away. Here we go again. I absolutely hate being threatened. Of all people, I had to get stuck with a shameless, low-life relative like this. I can't let him hold this over my head forever. Can I? I clenched my fist to psych myself up. Crouching down, I reached out with both hands to pull up my aunt. The ground is dirty and cold. Please, get up and don't make things more difficult here. Even though she could barely speak clearly, my aunt still knew she had to stand by her son. She was babbling incoherently and struggling, refusing to cooperate. I crouched down, intending to pick up my aunt. Then, by the dim light of the underground garage, I saw a dark figure silently approaching from behind. The figure raised its arm, clutching a thick iron rod. It was coming straight for the back of my head. He'd actually kill for a car. What a lunatic. Steadying my pounding heart, I called out to my aunt on the ground. Auntie, I'm planning to let my cousin use the car. I saw the dark shadow on the ground freeze in its movement. I added, the reason I drove here today was actually to get insurance for the car. Getting insurance for a new car is such a hassle. I even had to drive it out just to take photos. Why else would I be out here at this hour? Oh, really? My cousin was skeptical. Then again, his family had never owned a car. So how would he understand all the complexities of insurance? Seeing the shadow no longer held that stick, I quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Forcing a smile, I finally turned my head. Cousin, when have I ever lied to you? I pretended to concede. I thought about it after I got home. We're family. And we should be looking out for each other. We shouldn't let a car come between us. You and sis-in-law should just keep the car. I can always take the bus to work. At worst, I'll save up for a couple of years and buy myself a used car. My cousin was pleased. That's more like it. It's good to see you're being sensible. A young woman should learn to be hardworking and resilient. But, I pointed to a few scratches on the front of the car. You see, a few bumps and scrapes are just part of driving. That's why you need good insurance. Tell you what, once I get back and sort out the insurance, you can come drive it anytime. My cousin wasn't ready to let it go. But what if you don't give the car back? I glanced at my aunt. We're family. I told you. Why don't you trust me? Besides, with a trick like that up your sleeve, how could I possibly refuse you the car? You know, insurance costs a fortune. If it weren't for remembering how you helped me when I was in the hospital, I really wouldn't want to spend the money. Hearing this, my aunt shot me a proud look. My cousin laughed along, kicking the iron rod aside right in front of me. Alright, I'll give you 3 days. I'll come to you for the car in 3 days. If you try anything funny, don't blame me for what happens next. I nodded with a foolish grin. I drove straight to the car wash after leaving the garage. While washing the car, the shop owner pointed at the floor mat on the driver's side and said, "That's a loose floor mat. It's not safe." "What?" the boss patiently explained. "These non-slip resistant floor mats can shift around easily, and yours are the multi-layered, extra thick version. They might feel soft and comfortable for the passenger, but if the driver's side mat moves, it could jam the brake pedal. I'd recommend switching to a set that can be secured in place." I stared at the rose pink, heart-shaped floor mats in the front. These were clearly bought by my cousin's wife. "All style, no safety." The boss asked me tentatively, "Want to swap it out now? I've got floor mats at home, ready to go, guaranteed safe and cheap." I just smiled. "You make a good point. I'll give it some more thought." The matter of the floor mats planted a seed in my mind. After washing the car, I went and found another auto shop that very night. Once the new key was programmed, I immediately had a professional deactivate the old one. That way, the car key in my cousin's hands would be completely useless. The next day, the expensive insurance I bought for the car kicked in. This was my backup plan. It would be best if Lin Town knew when to quit. If he goes off the rails, at least I'll have a safety net. After parking the car that day, I bent down to meticulously adjust the floor mat. I bear no ill will towards anyone, but if someone crosses me, they shouldn't be surprised if I play rough. Early on the third morning, Lin Tao was already banging on the door. "Shaoli, open up." There was no way I was going to open that door. "Just say what you need to. I'm not even up yet." "It's not a good time to open the door. Why won't the car key start the car? Did you do something to it?" He's already been to the garage. There was no hiding it anyway, so I spoke through the door. "When I got the car serviced, I had the key upgraded to the latest technology. Your old key won't work anymore. What gives you the right to change the car keys? Hand one over." "Now, can't do that. You're not driving this car for now." "Why not?" I decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. "I've been reassigned at work and need the car a lot lately. We're family, you understand, right? You wouldn't be so inconsiderate." My cousin snapped impatiently. "No way. I already promised your sister-in-law I'd take her and her sisters out. Hand over the keys, now." He had no problem letting his own sister run the car into the ground, but was falling over himself to show off for someone else's. I rolled my eyes from behind the door, still speaking in a gentle tone. "Oh, come on, cousin, don't be so impatient. I already promised you could use the car. It's just a few days later. You have to support my work so I can save up for a new car, right?" My cousin kicked the door a few times hard. "Don't you try to pull the wool over my eyes. Don't think hiding from me will solve anything. You just wait." I never expected a man like him to have a conscience. That night, the door was knocked on again. My parents and I stared at each other through the peephole. But the moment I opened the door, my cousin and uncle, who had been hiding in the corner, pushed their way inside first. Mom looked utterly embarrassed. "Your cousin and your uncle insisted on coming to see you, and they wouldn't even let me give you a heads up." Dad's face was grim too. "Your cousin showed up at our door first thing in the morning, camped out, and watched us like a hawk to stop us from calling. What on earth is he trying to pull?" I hadn't even gone to Mom and Dad to complain about him yet, and here he is, already up to his shady tricks. "What do you want now?" "I already told you, you can't borrow the car right now." My cousin raised an eyebrow. "You're overthinking it. I just wanted to get both families together. Now that the wedding's over, it's my turn to treat you all to a meal." He thumped the 4 bottles of baijiu my uncle was carrying down onto the dining table. "We'll have the feast right here in your little apartment today. No one leaves until we're all thoroughly drunk. The wedding was 2 months ago, and now he suddenly remembers to throw a feast. I think it's a setup. He knows full well our family hardly ever drinks, yet he brought 4 bottles anyway. What's he up to? Trying to get us drunk?" My cousin's eyes were darting all over my house, clearly looking for something. "He's after the car. I don't want to lend it to him right now, and he can't drive it away anyway. What else can I do?" It suddenly dawned on me. He's trying to steal the car keys. 10 minutes later, my cousin's wife showed up at the door carrying 2 large bags of cold dishes. An inevitable drinking session was about to begin. My cousin kept scanning every nook and cranny of my house, searching for the car keys. His wife's gaze, however, lingered on my coat rack and jewelry cabinet. The naked greed in the couple's eyes was plain to see. I stole a subtle glance at the surveillance camera I'd deliberately hidden. Rather than be worn down by their endless pestering, I decided to step into the game myself. It's just a drink, right? Do you have any idea how much I've had to drink for work over the years, trying to get me drunk? They'll have to face the consequences." Seeing I didn't object, my eldest uncle and cousin, with their hands on my parents' shoulders, were giving our family of 3 an especially enthusiastic welcome. "Don't just focus on the food, come on, have a drink, it's a great day today, let's have a toast. Let's have another toast to Shally's career success and her new car. Hey, come to think of it, I've never even held a car key. Shally, why don't you show your uncle what your key looks like? He's here." I met my uncle's gaze, a smile playing on my lips, all for a car key, and he had the nerve to say something that outrageous. I pretended to slur my words. "You uncle, I don't know where the car keys are, you silly kid, you can't just leave the car keys lying around, let me go look for them." I grabbed my uncle's arm as he stood up. This is a girl's apartment. You can't just go rummaging through a woman's place." My cousin held my uncle down, forcing him to sit. Then, he filled a glass with baijiu and thrust it in front of me. "I don't think Shally is drunk enough yet, drink up, quick." Seeing that I wouldn't take the glass, my cousin turned and poured an even larger glass, handing it to my dad. Since my cousin can't drink, then the father should take her place. "I put in a lot of effort when you were in the hospital, surely you won't refuse to return the favor." My dad is a straightforward, honest man. His face was already flushed from drinking, but upon hearing this, he gritted his teeth, took the glass, and downed it in one go. I quickly snatched the glass away. "My dad has high blood pressure, let me drink this for him." My cousin smiled with satisfaction, seizing the opportunity. I poured a full glass and slid it over. "We said we wouldn't leave until we're drunk. How can we just let uncle and sister-in-law drink? Brother, if you don't join in, that's just not cool." My cousin held his glass, unmoving. I was prepared, putting on the act of someone tipsy and eager to keep the drinks flowing. "Tell you what, for every drink you take, you can ask me one question. I promise I'll answer truthfully." My cousin's eyes lit up, and he downed the drink in one go. "Where are the car keys?" Well, that was brazenly direct. I slurred my words. At my place." "Where in your place?" That's a second question." I grinned and poured him another large glass. I must have answered the question about the car keys 100 different times. "In the house, somewhere really hidden, just in a box." It took countless vague answers like these to finally, and barely, point to a single location. My cousin's eyes were glazed over from the alcohol. My cousin's wife and my uncle had already teamed up and gotten my parents so drunk they were throwing up in the bathroom. The two of them couldn't hold their liquor and collapsed on the floor. After confirming they had just passed out from the drink, I felt safe enough to pass out beside them. Cousin, Shally." I naturally didn't respond. The room fell silent for a moment. My cousin signaled to his wife to quickly check the master bedroom closet. "You check the wardrobe thoroughly. I'll take the nightstand." The couple rummaged roughly through the master bedroom. I squinted and peeked towards the master bedroom. The car keys were indeed in the wardrobe. On top of that, there was my gold necklace and a stack of cash. While my cousin and his wife were ransacking my house, my uncle shuffled unsteadily around my parents, who lay collapsed on the floor. "How can you be so foolish? A daughter will belong to another family sooner or later. Of course the car should be for our Lintao to use, only a son can provide for you in old age. What does a girl need a car for? We're taking the car today for your own good, don't worry. From now on, Lintao will be like a son to you. He'll even take care of your funeral arrangements when you're old." Ugh, disgusting. I'm holding back my disgust. So this is how my uncle's family has been talking to mom and dad behind my back. No wonder mom gave me that strange look after they visited her in the hospital last time. "Got the car keys, let's get out of here." "What a haul, honey, look how beautiful my new necklace and ring are." My cousin and his wife came rushing out of the master bedroom, shouting with joy all over their faces. "Let's get the car home, quick, and tomorrow, we'll take all these gold bracelets and necklaces straight to the pawnshop and sell them." They grabbed their uncle, who was spinning in place, and headed straight for the door. All three of them were pretty drunk right now. They couldn't even walk in a straight line. How on earth were they supposed to drive? Besides, her cousin was the only driver in their family. Was he really planning to drive after drinking? It was already the early hours of the morning, and the roads were pretty much empty, but they had to cross the bridge on their way home. The floor mats hadn't been replaced either. My reason and rage were locked in a struggle. A hot surge of blood and liquor rose within me, and I jerked upright. I stumbled and staggered toward the toilet. The sound of retching was mixed with violent coughing. I couldn't worry about anything else at that moment. I only heard the conversation between my eldest uncle and my cousin behind me. "If they keep vomiting like this, won't they choke to death?" If she chokes to death, that's just her own bad luck, can't blame us for that, true. If she dies on her own, it saves us the hassle of arguing about the car. Let's get out of here, quick, before something happens and they try to pin it on us. The front door slammed shut with a bang. The world fell silent. I pushed myself up and splashed cold water on my face. I then helped my parents into bed, cleaned them up, and tucked them in. I looked around at the ransacked mess of a home. In the call interface, I dialed the number I knew by heart. Hello. I need to report a crime. My cousin and his 2 friends had to walk a full lap around the underground parking garage before they spotted my car. The 3 of them clambered onto the car, using both hands and feet, under the influence of alcohol. He was visibly extra excited. Go, 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 let's roll. The princess has arrived. Clear the way, watch me own this road. As the underground parking garage barrier lifted, my cousin floored the accelerator. He hit 120 miles per hour on the open road, in the dead of night. The streets were completely deserted. My cousin floored it, belting out a song at the top of his lungs. I want to fly higher, fly higher. A blur of countless streetlights swam before his eyes. He could no longer make out the traffic lights. He drove unimpeded all the way, heading straight onto the bridge. A section in the middle of the bridge was under repair, following a traffic accident 2 days prior. Under normal circumstances, Lin Tao might have noticed, but now, dizzy and blurred from the alcohol, he was driving purely on instinct. The reflective traffic cones ahead looked no different to him than stars in the sky. It wasn't until he barreled right up to the barrier at the bridge's midpoint that he realized something was wrong. Lin Tao slammed on the brakes in a panic, but the pedal wouldn't budge. Frantically shifting his foot, he only succeeded in bunching up the crumpled floor mat completely under the brake pedal. It occurred to him that since hitting the road, he'd been focused solely on the accelerator and hadn't touched the brakes once. A cold sweat broke out on Lin Tao's back. In that instant, the fog of alcohol lifted from his mind. He frantically wrenched the steering wheel, cranking it hard over in a desperate attempt to swerve. He had forgotten his speed was already peaking. The speeding car slammed into the barrier as it swerved sharply. The car's front end careened uncontrollably toward the bridge's side railing, tires spinning wildly. The vehicle smashed through the railing, flew over the edge of the bridge, and plunged into the water. It's over, I don't want to die. Oh my God, how romantic. Honey, are you taking me for a swim in the sea? Early the next morning, I received the news that Lin Tao and his family had been recovered from the river after their car went in. Thank goodness you called the police in time, or the consequences could have been unthinkable. After hanging up with the police, I explained what had happened to my now sober parents. Calling the police last night was both a punishment for the Lin family and a struggle with my own conscience. They were willing to disregard my life, but I couldn't live with the weight of a death on my conscience. My parents, now knowing the truth, fell into a long silence. Mom let out a sigh. Anyway, let's just get to the hospital first. By the time our family of 3 arrived at the hospital, the ward was already bustling with activity. Reporters from various media outlets had gathered around the ward, hoping to interview those involved in the incident. Could you walk us through what happened last night? We've heard the driver had been drinking. Is that true? In the wake of such a tragedy, what message would your family like to share with the public? There was no response to the reporters' questions. My cousin's wife, her face half bandaged, was wailing and sobbing, regretting ever marrying into this family. My aunt, barely able to form words, held my uncle, his arms broken, and wept with a heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching cry. Lin Tao was raging at the doctor, who gave you permission to amputate my leg, and you have the nerve to ask us for the medical bill. I'm going to report you. I'll have your leg cut off too. Amidst all the commotion, my eyes met Lin Tao's. His eyes were filled with pure hatred. It's all your fault. Your piece of junk car is what got me into this. Talk about blaming the victim. I politely showed all the reporters out, then I turned and glared at him. Lin Tao, your family broke into my home and damaged my new car. I've called the police. You dared to call the police. Shally, we're family. You can't do this. Uncle's worried now. Too late, I said with a blank expression. Why shouldn't I call the police? You forced your way in and got me drunk first, then stole my valuables. You absolutely deserve to face the full force of the law. Uncle was yelling at Mom. You're just letting Shally run wild. I'm your own brother. How dare you show me such disrespect? I couldn't help but laugh. What era do you think this is? Still acting like the elder brother is like a father. Go ahead, try explaining filial piety to the police. Uncle stared intently at Mom. Your daughter is beyond saving. I want to hear you say it. Our parents are watching from heaven. You need to go to the police station and drop the charges. Dad and I both looked at Mom. When it came down to it, he was her own flesh and blood, her older brother. I won't force her to make a choice. At worst, I'll take the blame for sacrificing family for righteousness. My cousin's gaze was also fixed on Mom. Auntie, remember how close we've been since I was little. That's why I went to the hospital to take care of you. What say does a daughter, destined to marry out, really have? You're the one who calls the shots in this family. If you just protect me this time, I'll be like a son to you from now on. Here we go again. It's just having a bit extra down there. Who does he think he is? The crown prince? I stayed silent, just watching as my mother walked toward me with a hesitant look on her face. My mother took my hand, and my heart skipped a beat. Auntie, you need to teach Shelly a proper lesson. Her behavior is completely unacceptable. Exactly. How dare a little girl try to boss us around? Slap her a couple of times for me. My uncle and cousin wore smug, self-satisfied expressions. Mom patted the back of my hand. It was my fault for being so foolish. I'm sorry you had to go through that. She turned around, straightened her back, and looked at my uncle. Get lost. You've been using that boys are better than girls nonsense to bully me since we were kids. I let it slide back then, but I won't let you lay a finger on my daughter now. With Mom and Dad watching from above, I'm putting my foot down right here. Right now. I will not let this go. You will answer for how you've treated my daughter. Her uncle was stunned. What nonsense are you talking? We're family. Blood is thicker than water. Mom sneered. What a load of crap about blood being thicker than water. The biggest regret of my life is sharing a wound with you. A scumbag like you could only raise a little monster who's a menace to society. My daughter said the stuff you stole is enough to press charges. You just wait. Mom grabbed hold of both Dad and me. Let's go. We're heading to the police station right now to get some answers. I stood there in a daze as my mother pulled me out of the hospital room. All I could hear were the anguished wails of my cousin's wife from inside the room. I must have been cursed for 8 lifetimes to have married into your family. I want a divorce. You'll pay for my medical bills, my plastic surgery, and my emotional distress, with his parents' support. The theft case was quickly resolved, with both witnesses and physical evidence present, and the surveillance footage from that day capturing everything. The matter was clear-cut. After being discharged from the hospital, Lin Tao was compelled to proceed with filing for divorce. Subsequently, all 3 of them were sentenced and sent to prison. My aunt, having lost her dearest kin overnight, was stricken with grief and fell gravely ill once more. This time, there was no one left to tend to her with care at her sickbed. The days that followed, she had to endure in solitary anguish. I wonder if, in those long, drawn-out days, she ever regretted the moment she threw herself before my car. Anyway, I've completely moved on. The comprehensive car insurance I paid a premium for back then played a crucial role. After the insurance payout, I bought a new car. From now on, I won't have to suffer the misery of crowded buses on my commute. No more struggling through wind and rain. I'm giving my all to live well in the present. I won't let the fear of losing face cause me stress and inner turmoil anymore. I can confidently say no to any request from anyone. No way, not interested, absolutely not. What do I care about other people's gossip? Anyone who dares to give me a hard time can't be a decent person. I'm living with more and more carefree ease. This has brought me even closer to my parents. When a family pulls together, every path becomes smooth. I am content with everything in my life right now. From now on, every single day will be the happiest time of my life. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. See you in the next video.